No problem there at all.
Because you have been with Juki now for...
Well, Juki UK, domestically, we've been in, 25 years. I've been with the company 36 years on that.
Something
yeah,
years.
so as a mere boy.
Man and child.
Mad and child.
Yes.
Well, child and... bigger child. I was just like, haven't grown out of that one yet, so it's good.
Right.
who has, really? So, yeah, no, it's obviously, I love what I do, and it's great. We get to meet people like yourself, and it's brilliant, who love our machines as well.
We love you because you are not an average salesperson.
Thank you.
You come to this from an engineer's perspective, because that's how you joined the company, wasn't it? As an engineer.
Absolutely. That's when I first trained. To be fair, my brother's within the industry as well.
Yeah, but he chose Miami.
He chose Miami. I get Essex.
You get Essex.
Oh, and to be fair, I get to travel around here as well, so it's beautiful.
Yeah,
so.
but he gets Miami.
Yeah, I know.
Do you ever consider your life choices, Garry?
I do fair. I do say, obviously, he is the older brother, so he has to move on eventually. So you never know. The Miami post might be opening up soon, but hey. No, obviously, Juki UK, we love what we do. Obviously, I love what I do as well. So as an engineer, I do like, thank you for that, because I do like to come across to say, I'm not a salesman, but obviously sales is a big part of what we do.
Well, yeah,
but my passion is the inside of the machine. It's the engineering, it's seeing how it's made, it's knowing that we've got a tool that's going to work and do the job well.
So why is, see, I had someone say to me, she was going to buy sort of £1,000 machine, and then she said, oh, actually, I think I'm just going to get an entry-level one. Can you recommend one for £200 or £300?
Yeah.
No, I can't. I honestly, hand on heart, can't. And it sounded, in that moment, like I was being a terrible snob. And I wasn't trying to sell anything to her. I was just saying, generally, I cannot. The reason that I only stock Juki's here is because of the all-metal workings. And all of the machines that we sell here have this all-metal working.
And that's exactly it. And that's the thing with Juki. Obviously, you can look at a machine. A bit of advice, sort of, definitely when people look at machines, the first thing they look at is stitches. Oh, I don't want that many stitches.
Or I do. I want all the stitches.
Yeah. But most of the times, 9 out of 10, well, I only do this. I don't need the stitches. Well, first of all, what I will say, stitches don't cost money.
No.
So we can build a machine with 50 stitches on. We can build a machine with 150 stitches on, and it'll be no difference in manufacturing whatsoever.
Okay.
It's just a different program.
Right.
As long as we're not messing with the feed systems, when we're not messing with the programming, etc. That way, to have 50 stitches, to have 150, to have 200 stitches in the same sewing sequence, then it makes no difference. So we might as well build the machine with 250 stitches on, because then we support a bigger market.
Right.
It's because that person wants to do dressmaking, so they don't need all the quilting decorative. That person wants to do quilting and don't do dressmaking. So there is that side as well. But so that's the main thing when people start looking at it's that stitch performance rather than stitch quantity.
So
and
quality over quantity.
Every day.
Always.
Every day.
So what we have got for you today, and we are the only retailer in the country, I believe, that are allowed to buy you.
Well, we've worked, for so many years now. We've worked together.
Yeah.
You've grown all your machines. We've done exhibitions together. We've done TV together. All of that as well. Absolutely, and it's all great fun. So we specifically save up for you, and as we know, sewing season is in mid-flow at the moment. It's absolutely brilliant, especially obviously those icy mornings that we've all woken up to this morning. It's like, let's stay indoors and sew.
Exactly,
so
it's the perfect sewing day.
But on
it looks pretty, don't want to be out there, look at it, do a bit of sewing.
That's exactly. Yeah. But also the other side of that is exhibition season's now finished for us. So we had, obviously, Harrogate was my last one.
Yes.
So absolutely fantastic show up there as well. Great knit and stitch, seeing so many people. It's absolutely brilliant. I love doing the exhibitions
I know
as we do.
Yeah,
all the excitement is there. But because of that, and as we try and do, it's usually, obviously, I'm with you usually January.
Yes.
But I've got quite a busy season coming up, beginning of it. So
we
we
nabbed you early.
just before Christmas. Again, ideal Christmas presents for everybody.
So what we get are the machines that have been to an in-stitching show, anything like that. They've been out. What is their average use time, do you think?
I would definitely say, well, we actually break it all down to the shows and things like that. We're talking less than 50 hours use.
Okay.
We're talking not even running most of them on there, because we don't just have one machine of each. We do have several machines out, obviously of the same model when we do exhibitions.
They haven't been used a lot at all.
They've basically been used by us.
Yes.
Not even say the retails, the public side, I should say. It's very rarely. Sometimes customers want to sit and have a play, which we're very happy with them doing that.
They do under
our supervision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're not been in a classroom.
Nope.
Like obviously, when you go to exhibitions, you see a classroom set up with loads of machines, and
that's
no, these are our personal machines we're selling. So
So they then get looked at by the engineers again.
yeah. The great
serviced
news,
again.
they are fully sold as you would buy them new. So
But the difference is
a good value.
yeah, and this is
Exactly
it. So I remember when I first started Natasha Makes, and we had sales shows with full price machines. And the thing is that the other shopping channels, they have their FlexiPay, they have all of that broken down. And I remember saying to your big boss guy,
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to work for us, and it's really sad because I love your machines. And he said, we're going to do something really special for you, Natasha. We're going to save up these machines. I know that you do, you know, we don't do the FlexiPay and everything. I believe that that's for you to sort.
Again,
You
this
know,
is it. Well, we all
and
know
to
now
buy
with
the
things like
machine that
PayPal and
is
things like that.
within-
You set it up
yeah.
at home, it's so easy, 3 months, and yeah, all that sort of thing goes on. It's great.
That's kind of your business, not
Yes,
mine.
it's a personal finance to
Yeah,
people, and
yeah.
there's ways, means around, as I say, with Christmas coming
So
up.
I just want to trust that you are buying what you can afford, and that's my trust, which is why I don't do the finance myself. That's for you. But what it means is that we can bring you machines at incredible prices, the best prices that there are out there.
Well, it's
That's it,
certainly the
that's
best
it.
price without a
Yeah.
doubt, but also the opportunity, because these machines don't come up.
No, they don't.
And you say they come
No.
up once a year when
Yeah.
when we get
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
and we've got that range of machines. And to be fair, obviously we do know during the exhibitions they are sold off as well,
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
do
yeah.
change around. So with all these machines, you say full 2-year warranty as
Yes.
manufacturing new on
Yes.
there. Obviously we've gone through personally every single one of them as well, even though they're not had heavy use, but everything's brought back up. Obviously, all the bobbins, the accessories, everything is all checked through that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, the machine is, if there is any fluff or thread, it's defluff. New needles, obviously, very important
Yes.
as well. So
Yes.
they are all just then individually tested off as a peace of mind
So they come
more
to
than
you
anything.
as new with the 2 years guarantee, which is held with Juki. And
That's
I have to say, Juki are brilliant. This is another reason. So for those of you that might be tuning in for the first time, don't know me from Adam. I'm not Adam, I'm Natasha. I've worked in shopping TV now for nearly 9 years.
Yes.
So knocking on a decade.
Well, I think we was very similar together
Yeah.
on that. I think
Yeah, yeah.
that was it. Create and Craft,
Create
the
and
very
Craft was the
first
very
one, wasn't
first
it?
one.
Which got to be 9-10 years ago.
And so it was from there, and because of working on those channels, and then I worked on a dedicated sewing channel, I got to try all the different makes of sewing machine. And because I've tried all the different sewing machines, I know with certainty that I've picked my favourite for so many reasons. And the build quality and the service from Juki is definitely one of them. Gemma, have I got a problem with my
You've
mic?
got your mic.
So
I'm just going to quickly switch out both sets of batteries.
They're brand new today.
I know, but still. You're
Okay.
crackling as well, so I think if you take out your flex, straighten it all out. Have you got the mic that I normally use?
Yeah.
Yeah. Straighten the flex out.
there we
Get
go.
in my pocket.
Unplug the battery compartment and plug it back in.
Sorry everyone if I'm crackling everywhere. It's because Gemma's normally sat.
So you sat still, not moving around. It doesn't. Yeah, got
Yeah,
it
but
set
move
in
the flex
situation
out.
on that. So,
Sometimes it makes all difference.
but as you say, with all of our machines as well, we say the great thing about it. Obviously, we've got retail shops. Obviously, we're not just Juki UK.
Yeah.
We do have retail. We obviously import, export other sewing equipment as well, and we do pride ourselves on the backup service. And it's like yourself. You come to us. We don't sponsor people. We don't give our machines away to people like
Yeah.
other manufacturers out there. As you said, you have played with all manufacturing machines, all models,
Yeah.
and thank you very much. It's us you choose to come to.
Every
And-
time, without question.
And there's a lot of it within the industry, certainly within the manufacturing of Juki as well. We are so pleased we actually get involved with the ideas. We have many meetings out there, so there can be in a room,
yeah.
there could be 16 countries together, and we will all be talking about what we want from our machines.
And because you are so customer facing on the regular at
That's-
exhibitions,
yeah.
you get that feedback, and Garry, you know what us women want.
Well, exactly this is it. It's satisfaction, and that's what we can hopefully provide on there as well. But what we don't also do, we don't gimmicky stuff that you look at, you think, oh, that's really nice, and never use it. And that's the
so
problem. Some of it
true.
looks, oh, that's really good, and you
Yeah.
get home and say, have you ever used that? Oh, actually, no, I haven't.
But you've paid for it.
And you have paid for it. Or
other thing-
you've taken
go
it
on.
away from the actual sewing performance, is because when you start playing around, and this is what I will explain when we start looking at the different models as well. With our models, as say, you were saying about people looking at budget machines on there. Yeah, budget machines generally, they can be okay, but a lot of people will grow out of them very, very quickly.
Buy cheap, buy twice.
And that's exactly it. So therefore, it's not really an investment, and therefore you can be wasting money. So as you say, buy the right machine.
For the sewer you want to be.
That's it, something
That's
to grow
what we always
into.
say.
Yeah,
what
don't
you
grow
want
out
to
of it,
be,
grow into it.
Not where you are now.
But also, it's like we've had it where certain level of machines, and again, I'm going to say that price point of say of about £300. You start doing jeans, you start doing bag making,
not
you
gonna
think,
work.
and you end up knocking out a timing, things like that. It's going to cost you, I don't know, £60, £100 each time to have it repaired.
Yeah.
So before you know it, you're never going to get that job done.
If that manufacturer will indeed take it back. Gemma's had it where actually her manufacturer of her old machine wouldn't take it back. I've now managed to get Gemma solely on Juki, so she's now all right. But
And again, big
beforehand-
smiles, and that's what we
Yeah,
like. So
but during the pandemic, no one was answering, no one was getting back to her, no one was sorting it. Now that's the other point I just wanted to make. During the pandemic, what a lot of other manufacturers came to realise was that they didn't have lots of excess parts. Everyone went into lockdown, started sewing, sewing machines broke, parts were needed, and they couldn't get them.
yes,
But Juki manufacture their own parts.
We literally 10 years ago we stopped making machines for other people.
Brilliant.
We made virtually every single overlocker for Benina.
Right.
Up obviously with that up until 10 years ago. We made embroidery systems for Singer. We made embroidery systems for Auna. We obviously supply many industrial manufactured parts to go on other people's machines as well. So 10 years ago we said, right, that's it. We are not supplying anything else. We're not building for other people. Everything now is purely going to be under the Juki banner. So therefore, our own manufacturing, our own parts, our own backup. We're not going to a third party for this, or there's nothing. Again, it's obviously without going into names. There's big names out there who do not manufacture a single sewing machine. And it's like the biggest names as well, what people will walk into and go, oh, have you got X, Y, or Z?
Because back in the day, they were the ones.
It's names that we all knew, it's names that we all used, but
Yeah.
also, to be fair, back in the day, it's machines that I would have sold.
Yeah.
It's because they were the quality, they were the
Yeah.
builders of those machines.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so when a business is used to manufacturing other people's machines, obviously they have a knowledge of how that machine is put together, the pros, the cons, and everything else. You're never going to take that knowledge and go, I'm not going to consider that.
That's exactly
They're going to
it.
go, oh, what worked, what didn't work, let's take the best from everything. And I believe that Juki has such a large proportion of the world's manufacturing machines
Yes,
as
yeah.
well. They've got the monopoly
It's
of that,
over
haven't they?
40% of the world's manufacturing machine.
huge.
Well, if you think, when I say over 40%, it's sort of okay, that's under half. But when you think there is, I'm going to chuck out a figure here, there's probably I don't know, I think there's 1,500 different companies manufacturing industrial machines.
Yeah.
It's not just a handful of names you know.
No,
There's
no.
many different
So to
manufacturers
have
of industrials
40%
out
of that
there.
market, and again, you don't have that industrial knowledge and then go, I'm going to ignore all of that and start again on a domestic. You take that knowledge, you take what works there, and you make it usable for a domestic rather than starting from scratch. And that's what I love about Juki. And the other thing is that you expect your machines to last. You expect to still need to find parts for a machine that is 20 years old.
Well, if you're
And not just cut off after 5.
if you're
because you
investing
don't
into
expect
quality,
that. Yes.
quality is built to last.
Yes.
And this is where I know, just say, I sold a machine called the E61, the E series on there.
Yeah.
That was 25 years ago.
Yes.
I can still supply all parts for that machine.
Brilliant.
Again, longevity. You invest because not necessarily you might not be keeping that machine for 25 years, but you might be passing it on to a family member because you've then upgraded and you want maybe something bigger. So,
I have my grandma's Singer sewing machine that is over 60 years old.
yeah.
It does a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch that is it.
That's it, yeah.
And sometimes I bring it out on the shows. It's the only other machine that I own. Sometimes I bring it out on the shows and just to show that my patterns can be used with other machines other than a Juki.
That's right, yeah.
But the build quality on that is phenomenal. And it's like it's like these.
Well, that's what we got behind
yeah,
this.
I mean, it's hidden by our thing, by our logo. But that is a very old Sing machine, and I sent that to you guys, and that has been fully refurbished, fully repaired, and that is in full working order.
And
now.
it purrs.
Yeah.
And it still purrs
because you've got that build quality, and that's what Juki have maintained.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And this is where also when you look around, obviously you can go to Club Book. You can go to mass merchandise superstores and things like that. Stack them high, sell them cheap, things like that. And again, it's a lot of people then get into that. But what we don't want to do is put people off sewing. Because you go out and buy a brand new sewing machine, and to be fair, if your budget's 150, you're going to get a machine for that. Yeah. And if you are a new sewer, and if it's the machine not working, as a new sewer, you won't know that. No. You can put yourself off. So again...
Gemma, which way did your old machine pull? To the left.
To the left.
Which way did my old machine pay? To the left. It always went to the left, and I thought I just couldn't sew straight.
That's exactly.
And it was so frustrating because I was working within the industry, seemingly an expert. I would question that, but with the machine, I was like, how can I be in it? I can't even sew straight.
Exactly. This is it.
And then I tried the Juki machines. I was like, oh. It's not me.
It's a different performance, it's a different level, but also, as I said, like from the top, it's having the machine not trying to do too many different things. Again, not the stitches, as long as the feed system's not being messed around with.
But it's also very intuitive. I mean, I rocked up to Festival of Quilts, and I had to do a demonstration on one of the big, you know, the ones that are televised. And
yes, you did.
And I had to do a demo on there. And it was a brand new Juki that they had, thank goodness. And it was brand new. I hadn't used that machine before. So. But as soon as I saw it was a Juki, because let's face it, when you're in front of hundreds of people, the last thing you want is for it to go wrong.
Well, as you say, when you're on stage, you're doing that. Obviously, when you're doing live TV,
you don't really want it going wrong. So, and I'd not used it before. So the fact that it was Juki, it meant that I knew where I was, what I was doing, and that it would be okay, and it was. I absolutely fell in love with it. It was the next machine I bought.
And straight away it got you into that, and it's absolutely brilliant.
So what I'm going to do, we're going to look at all the machines that we have on offer for you today.
Yeah.
Because it's Wednesday, I will quickly show you the half-metre heavens, because that's what we do on a Thursday.
Yes,
on a Thursday they go live, we show them now. I've got something a little bit special for you, for your half-metre heavens, and then we'll say hello to everyone as well, see what questions.
Excellent. Yes, indeed.
So half-metre heavens are $9.99 for 2 half metres of fabric.
Right.
One plain and one fancy. Now this week I've done something a little bit different, and all bar one, a double fancy.
Lovely. Nice. And these are the 100% cottons?
Yeah.
These are
quilting weight cotton.
Yeah.
They're Moda, they're Andover, they're Makawa, they're sometimes we have Cave.
So you know the thread count. The thread count is there. Because this is the thing about buying fabrics off the internet, as we know. You can 100% cotton. You can get 150 thread count. You get 1,000 thread count. You're never going to know that on the internet. But obviously, once you put those names to it, then you know that quality level again is higher.
When I started Natasha Makes, and I was told that's a really rubbish business model, but it is one I stick to, and it works for us, is that I would only ever buy fabric that I was prepared to use.
Yes.
And sew with, and if it didn't sell, I was happy to get. Because why would I recommend something? It's very hypocritical, and when you've worked in a sales environment and you've had to be enthusiastic about products that, you know, you can see the value in them, but they're not for you.
No.
That authenticity was missing, and I vowed that I would never have that again.
Well, as a crafter, and certainly when you're spending a lot of time patchwork, you're quilting, and you've manufactured, it's like behind us on there, you spend hours and hours doing something like that.
Jane did that last week.
And if it's out then of a cheap fabric, it's not going to feel right, it's not going to last, all those hours you put into it.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can happily gift anything that we make because it's made with a quality machine, with quality fabrics, and that's the end of that really for me. So I'm just going to show you these, Jem. My machine is timed out. Could you possibly go overhead for me, please, my lovely? Thank you very much. Okay, so this is the only one that isn't a a double wow. It's still very beautiful. This is a Moda fabric, and then we've paired it with one of our greens there because it just
blends that up lovely, doesn't it? Yeah.
What we
makes it
realised
pop.
very quickly during lockdown was that you can't colour match on a screen.
No, you
And
can't.
from then on, we have constantly done this every single week. Other people have tried to copy us, that's fine, they're welcome to do so. But we have discovered, and we are very, very good at it, even if I do say so ourselves. And we get, and because of the service we offer, we often get people saying, I've got this fabric, what colour goes with it? Can you pick one?
Well,
Bill me.
we
Yes,
know
we
there
can.
is some people out there. Again, it's like myself personally. I'm not good on the colour palette. I can pick out and match a colour quite well, but when it comes to blending colours, that's just not my fingers there. But obviously yourself,
We get all the colours out. We will throw the fabric around and go, look, does this? And you can see instantly which one makes it sing. So for us, it was this green with this, and that is beautiful. So that again, $9.99. Now, every single one of these in this pile is a double fancy.
Double fancy one,
Yeah.
and that's what she's got.
And so what I did with these, I've done you either a large scale print and a smaller one. This is from the same collection. It's a Rennie Nanneman one. I love Rennie Nanneman. I don't know if you've come across her
No,
as
I've
a
not come
designer,
across, no.
But very, very, and I just thought we're heading to Christmas. You're doing your Christmas makes. Let's go stylish and neutral.
Yeah.
If you're gifting, sometimes you don't know someone's favourite colour. Neutral is just really safe.
Very much so on there,
And
so,
you
but
can-
also a small design as well. You can
Yeah.
do that, whether you add that in as a border, whether you do it as a strip. Again, you can then do your bias with it for edging, like a piping. Again, it's just beautiful that way.
And
Yeah.
masculine tones.
On that one, and
know.
again, it's gonna bring the room. It's gonna make it heavier. Where obviously the brighter, lovely, but not everybody wants that. Again, personally, obviously the
You see,
deeper
we're not
tones and
just
neutral
quilting
tones.
Either. You might want to do a tablet case for someone.
Yeah.
Have that as the main thing, and then have it
On
lined
there,
in that.
and you can have it lined in there at
and
all.
then you'd
Absolutely
see
perfect.
that detailing around it. So all of these things from the same range, and I've also gone contrast, so light with one, darker with the other, and a change in scale. Now for this one, this is from the same, so this is Rennie Nanneman again. I've gone darker on the large scale, and this time you've got that lighter colour there. So again, you've got that contrast in scale, colour, tone. But if you wanted to go for both of them, bearing in mind these should be $7.95 a half metre each,
Yes.
and they're going out at $9.99.
For the both.
For the both.
It's
I
very,
can't-
very good value on
I
that.
can't really do better
Well, I
than
think
that.
you'll come along the same, and I think maybe at home you're recognising it as well. The raw cotton, the cost of now good quality craft cotton,
crazy.
it's doubled in price. Years ago we were selling sort of these at like $9.95 a metre on there, and
not
now
the
you're
case.
looking at £20 a metre on a lot of them now.
We
Yeah, it's
have
just-
held our prices at the expense of our own margins. We have held our prices, and these are an even more special deal for you because we have a very loyal fan base, and we want everyone to be able to have what they want.
Brilliant.
So and so what we have instead, we have our digital products, and that all works for us. This, look at this. I know that we've got people out there that just love. And of course, I've cut off any kind of information there.
With the names on
But
there.
again, this one, I think it's an Andover one. It's either Andover or Macawa, and we've put it with their linen texture. So you've got some texture in there, and again, these sell for far more than you are paying today. So you've got your leopard print, and you've got your textured. Oh, Gemma's giving me a name.
Macau around the world leopard print.
Around the world leopard
Leopard
print.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Linear tone and indigo.
With linear tone and indigo. There we go. Now, here, I love the monsters. We did, a couple of weeks ago, Gary, we did a beanbag.
Yeah.
Now, for that beanbag, you would need 2 of these.
Right, okay, that's still less than what I thought actually. I
2
thought you'd
metres
end
of
up
fabric
having
to
more.
make
Yeah.
a big beanbag.
Yeah.
Done. Bosh. And that is your monster mash. The monster
It's
mash.
fun, absolutely
It is,
fun
isn't
on
it?
there. Yeah.
Same collection.
And then your linear tonal. So from the Monster Mash collection, we've also got this one. My son loved this. And actually, all the big kids have loved it too.
Well, just say, be fair, it's superhero without being superhero as such on
It's
there. And
ageless. It's pop art.
That's it.
as
It's
well.
fun. Well, very much so on there. Yeah.
And then we've put that with your blue tonal and your Caribbean. And this is from Monster Mash. Pow! I've got one coming in white as well, with a white background, which we've put on with the orange, but it didn't arrive in time for the show, but it will go up.
No, like that could really pop, obviously, with that.
I
That
know,
will really
brilliant.
pop on that.
Because that would mean that you could buy that, and then you could buy the white version with the orange, and that would be your beanbag all the way around.
Yeah, because you just mix and match both of them then.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we have that. We also have now, this is from the same collection. Not the same collection as those. These two fabrics are from the same collection. I should probably be clearer.
Again, more of the animal print. It's always a winner. Never goes out of fashion.
But that's
It's
just
absolutely
isn't it?
great. It
So
is brilliant.
Your pink and black, and again, it's picking out that pink there and your black spots there. And so this is your dual tones, cheeky leopard with your purple, with your zebra pink, print in pink. Put my teeth in and get all those purrs out. And then last one for you. I love a zebra stripe, and I love it with a bright
And again,
pink.
yeah, it just absolutely contrast pops like anything on there.
It's fun, it's colourful. I look at that and it just makes me happy.
Yeah, well, when you see something like the zebra print, you don't want to mess around with it. You don't want another, say, high design sometimes. Obviously, keep the animal print on there. But if you've got sort of another fancy, like the smaller leopard print against that, it would not go.
No.
Where, obviously, it just brings itself out. Absolutely fantastic.
So they are going live tonight at midnight on the Natasha Makes website. Fill your boots. Right, Gary, I'm going to get out of your way so that you can show us what you've got.
Right, indeed, absolutely. Well,
Can we change the screen for a second, please?
oh, just see how we say. We get the hands. It's there we go. We can see what we can see there. So, well, again, I'd like to say thank you for the invite. Absolutely brilliant. So we're a bit early this year, but it's great because we've got a nice selection of machines out there. First of all, as we explained, these are XDEM machines, but they are machines that we have personally carried around with us. It's not that they've gone out to the public at all. They're very little used, but obviously going to every single exhibition, we are maintaining our machine. So even if it's been used for an hour, the machine is then still taken, it's clean, new needles, and reset back up again. Because again, getting out exhibition, doing live recordings, certainly we don't want anything problems with the machine itself that way. That's why we still then put the full 2-year warranty, the manufacturer's warranty with it as well. Our backup service, obviously Natasha's backup service, we're all there to help you. Juki UK ourselves, we supply over 40% of the world's manufacturing machines. So huge amount of machinery that way. And the great thing about it, our quality, the manufacturing on the industrial side spills over to the domestic side as well. And as we're saying about not messing around with the machines, having the machines to do a good job, but without trying to go too fancy. So looking at all of our different machines, starting, we have got the G series, we've got the DX series, we've got the UX series.
What's the difference between all
and
those
that's
series?
exactly it. What is the difference on there? So we have the G series. So this is the G120. We do have a G120 and a G220. So the difference between the G120 and the G220 is a thread trimmer, literally a button. So,
oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people start looking at it and they sort of looking at the stitches on here as well. But the 120 has not got the thread trimmer.
Right.
The 220 has got the thread trimmer. That is the only difference between the two.
We have got both on the show today. The 120 should be £949. Today it is £795.
That's it, yeah. And then
the 220 should be £1,075, and today is £895. So there's a £100 difference.
There is £100 difference, and it's one of those things. If you, £100 for a button, that is expensive, or seems expensive.
If you have never had a thread trimmer, then you don't know what you're missing. Once you've used a thread trimmer, you pay that £100.
The way
It's as simple as that. You just
exactly
pay it. You don't question about it, and you go, yes, that one.
The way I put it over is, you don't need electric windows in your car.
No.
But who hasn't got electric windows in the car? It's like you don't need a thread trimmer, but once you've had a thread trimmer, you won't look back, because they are absolutely brilliant. A couple of different reasons. one reason it saves you obviously dragging threads, and as we know, good quality of thread nowadays is so expensive. So it saves you dragging and wasting threads. Also, when you're doing free motion, where you're then maybe jumping from one area to the next, you can just press a button, it will cut the threads. So again, you've not got any loops, you've not got any ties underneath which can catch up. So there's two good reasons there. Also, we have got a program button on the machine as well, where on our seaming, we can press it. So before we start, it will automatically stitch forwards and back. And when we get to the end of a seam, we press a button, it will then stitch forwards, back, stop, cut the threads for me and bring the needle out of the work. So it's not just a thread trimmer. You can program it with your different stitches on there as well, but also saving you so much thread dragging. So.
It's one of those things. If you are on that budget, then that £100 and that £100 makes the difference.
Yeah.
Then go for the one that you can afford. Because you're still getting a fabulous machine.
Because it's not a necessity. The thread trimmer doesn't change the performance of the machine.
No.
The machine hasn't changed at all. It's just one of those luxury extras, which is really nice on there as well.
Sure.
So in front of me, I have the G120, and next to me, I have the UX8.
Right.
This is the starting of our range. This is the top of our range on here as well. So at Juki, what we don't do is mess around with the sewing system.
Okay.
So this is a sub sort of £1,000 machine, and as you say, this is then a sub £4,000 machine.
Yes.
But the great thing with ourselves and that, we do not mess around with the sewing system. So facts and criteria on both machines. They both have the box feed system. So that's
right,
our...
okay, let's explain what the box feed system is.
So that's our industrial feed system.
Right.
With virtually all domestic machines, they have what they call an elliptical feed. So an elliptical feed is on an elliptical cam, basically. So if we say that is our fabric, so yeah, we're on there. So an elliptical cam, literally, as I say, it will just come up, it touches, then it will just move the fabric.
So when it touches it, it's not touching it continuously?
No, that's right. It will literally grip and let go, grip and let go. So there's no travelling as such to say.
Right.
And this is where I think when people at home, when you get to like a hem of a pair of jeans, you get to a lump or bump, and you end up having to force your fabric through.
I hate that.
Which one thing you should not do, because
No.
as soon as you start forcing fabrics, obviously you're going to break needles. You're going to not have continuity of stitch quality.
Yes.
So with the idea then with the box feed, so it comes up and it's then on a box cam, so as it comes up it then travels the full distance, drops down, comes through, travels the full distance. So even if I am dealing with lumps and bumps here, the feed will touch, so therefore it takes it through without skipping stitches, so therefore the stitch length will be sort of constant, and therefore it's not going to miss stitches when you get either side of the lump and bump, which I think we've all had problems with before when going over thicknesses.
None of us like
things
the
like
lumps
that.
and bumps. It's as simple as that. And
No.
it just, well, it's true, isn't it? But
Exactly. It's nothing worse as you sort of get in there, you get to a bit and suddenly your machine starts going banging, or and you can hear it struggling going for the thickness.
because you can hear the motor.
Oh, very much so.
And that's the thing, anything mechanical. I remember when I first started using a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Like a sit-on lawnmower. And if the grass was too long, you'd hear it. You'd hear the change in the engine. You'd hear it struggling. And it's the same with your sewing machine. Anything mechanical, if you're asking too much of it, you will hear it in the engine.
Again, you'll hear it groaning and you hear it will not like it. And obviously, as soon as you're hearing that, you know it's got to be necessary put in strains on other parts of the machine, etc. that way. So that's another thing about when you start with maybe a budget level, you've got to restrict your sewing, or you should restrict your sewing, where starting then on a sort of higher build, it will allow you to grow definitely more into that without the problems, without the hassle. But as I say, in the long run, you're not then wasting fabrics because you're not chewing it up because the machine's stitching it. You're not wasting threads because, again, you're knotting up, or you've got to unpick because it's missed stitches that way. So it's not just...
saving time, saving thread.
Saving time, saving threads, saving fabrics. So that's where an investment can be, which people don't look at necessarily when they're investing into a machine. It's not just a machine you use, you are using expensive fabrics, expensive threads and things like that. And if you end up ruining that, again, that's all part of that cost on there.
Now, Cynthia in Ohio says, I couldn't be happier as a quilter being an owner of a Juki. She's got the TL.
Wonderful. Excellent,
and
Cynthia.
lots of
Absolutely
people saying
brilliant.
that. Jo says that she loves her Juki DX 2000 QVP. She replaced her mum's Husqvarna, which her mum had got from you guys years and years and years ago.
Right, yeah.
She said, I'm a newish sewer, but love the ease of Juki. And these are the kind of things that we get all the time. Sue says, I love my Juki Industrial, simple but reliable. I can switch it on and know it will stitch out perfectly every time. I have a question. Do Juki manuals have a quick stitch reference with the name of each stitch? I often know what I need to do or the name of the stitch, but may or don't know the icon, what the icon looks like.
Depending on which model it is,
Right.
different instruction manuals, obviously with all of our instruction manuals, they are proper books. They're not just flimsy leaflets, they are proper books. So,
as someone who's lost their manual many times, I can also tell you that they are online.
They
when
are.
you print them off, it's like 200 pages of printing, and I curse myself every time because I then have to print out 200 pages.
Or you can just contact Juki UK and we do have replacement manuals in stock. So obviously not everybody has the capability of printing or the cost of printing, etc.
Yeah.
So anything like that. Again, it's something that we do carry as spare parts and to back our machines up. So no problem.
There you go.
And then with the machines itself, and then the different criteria with the feed system on there. Also, it's one of those questions where I'm asked quite a lot: is how wide is the zigzag? Well, top of the range machine, a lot of people think you're going to go then to bigger embroidery, bigger patterning.
Yeah.
No, not at all. This has a 7mm zigzag.
Yeah.
This has a 7mm zigzag.
Oh, perfect.
And
Okay.
the reason being is once you go above 7mm, 9mm, 12mm, you start dragging. And what that basically means is you're never ever, if you're going to do patterning, you're going to do zigzag, it's going to shrink your fabric. But also, it means you're never going to get a perfect straight stitch because it's just trying to do too many different things on there. As we know, a perfect straight stitch is only ever going to come out of a straight stitch machine because there's no deviation of needle or movement that way.
No, and that's all it does.
And that is all it does.
The machine that Garry is tapping to there is my TL.
It is the TL,
I'm
which
just having a quick look to see if we've got one on our books
Oh,
today.
yes, we have.
got one, only one. We've got the TL 2200, which is that one there that you see me use day in, day out. We have one available.
Obviously, the TL has got such a cult following. This is the machine,
it.
really what started Juki in the domestic market is because it is their first tabletop industrial. Where other machines, they've made straight stitch machines, all they've done is stretch a domestic machine. So, yes, it's bigger, yes, it looks tougher, but it's still got plastic gears inside. The TL 2200, is the only machine to come off the industrial line. That's why when you feel it, it's so heavy.
Yeah.
That's when you run it, it sounds like nothing else on the market because the metal gears inside on there. It makes me laugh on it because it sort of goes back to that old fashioned where people sort of say, why don't they build machines like they used to?
They do.
They do.
This one.
That's exactly
they do.
what it
They
is.
absolutely do.
You still have to oil it. Like you did with the old machines, drop of oil, drop of oil, drop of oil,
Yeah.
drop of oil, because it's all metal inside on there. And the longevity that way, obviously, it's a tool that does a job and it should do it forever.
And it makes me sad because that is the closest I have to, it's like the upgrade of my grandmother's machine.
Yes.
Which is, again, is all metal, really heavy, because she was a seamstress.
And it does that one job absolutely
that one
brilliant.
job, but really, really, really well.
And for
we
most-
have that one.
Yes.
We also have, and we have my other one of these. So when I was up and down to Cornwall all the time, and I'm not up and down quite so much now, and certainly not doing all my prep in Cornwall, I bought a second machine.
Yes.
So I had one up here and one down there. That is now a luxury that is not required. So my silver one, my platinum coloured one, and there are no more available, are there?
This is what it's lovely
It was
to
a
advertise
limited
this.
edition one.
It's a limited edition. Don't get me wrong. Our limited edition or special edition machines, as I say, are manufactured exactly the same. Because the reason I say that is because there's so many limited edition, special edition machines out there where they've changed parts and features on the machine, and then suddenly, in 2 years' time, they brought out another one, and it makes that one very difficult to then get parts of, or no one's heard of that one because it's just then become obsolete. So with all of our editions, so whether it's a TL machine, so whether it's the 2010 Platinum Edition, going back even to the TL 98 25 years ago, the actual machine manufacturing has not changed.
Yeah.
We've updated it slightly with electronics on it, so again, because of the speed, the domestic market wanted a slower machine when they could possibly do it, so we put a speed control on there. But
It's got a speed control.
exactly, this is it. Yeah.
Mine is
No, yours is
flat
just hair, full speed all the time on there. So the special edition, the platinum edition we brought out, it should have been more money edition on there. And it's got different accessories on it, and it is silver or platinum colour.
It is. It's got the feet and the accessories that got are more for dressmaker.
That's right,
Yeah.
yes, rather than sort of the quilting
And
attachments
that's
as such
the only
on there.
reason why that's the two of those that I'm selling is because I don't do as much dressmaking, and I've still got several.
This is it, and also now you've got them in the same place. You're not using them at the same
No.
time that way.
No,
so,
and it needs a loving new home.
yeah. So as a little thing, obviously, each exhibition I go to, and certainly to come back, I get asked, "Have we got any more platinum editions in stock?"
Yeah.
No, full stop. Can't get them. We got a one-off, obviously a large amount of them, because through the manufacturing time we couldn't get hold of TR2200s.
Yeah.
We just got a very good deal on the platinum edition, and
Yeah.
that's why we could offer them at that price. If we was to buy them now, they would be £200-300 more.
Yeah.
So not really justifiable for us. Very similar machine on that, but obviously you have your one.
Yeah.
Which
So I do.
Juki UK will fully service.
Yeah.
We will back up the year's warranty with it as well. So even though you're buying it as technically a second-hand machine,
Yeah.
you are still buying it via Natasha, via Juki UK,
Yeah.
complete backup service, completely serviced. So, and I think we're going to offer it 11.95.
Yeah.
So
which breaks my heart a little bit. So
It
I'm not
is
thinking about
a
it too much.
fantastic buy on that. Obviously, 14.45. We've got the demonstration ones
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah.
So it's even, say, a very, very good buy
And a
on top
limited
of that.
edition one. I will. So for anybody that is interested in that, I will pick it up this weekend. I'm in Cornwall this weekend. I will pick it up this weekend, and I will bring it back, and it will go straight to Juki.
That.
Where
So
it will be serviced.
we would expect maybe, if I say 14, 21 day turnaround, but on that,
Yeah.
by the time we've travelled between on
You'll
that
get it in
one,
the new year,
it-
basically.
absolutely,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem at all there. But again, there
but
is
you will
that
get it.
only one available on that. So,
Absolutely. Michelle says, I bought an NX7 from you about 2 years ago, and it's amazing, and I've had no problems apart from user error. Pat says, morning Gary, what's the best setting on a presser foot for thicker quilted fabrics? Good
Morning.
question.
That was the NX7.
What did I
We'll
say?
add the information later.
Oh, okay.
To say it was the NX7.
It was the NX7,
Oh, on
good.
the
So
NX7.
we know
Oh,
which
right,
machine.
right,
Right, well, because of the two things on the NX7, one thing I would certainly try, even when you're using thicker, heavier, you've got the walking foot built into it.
Yes.
So obviously by having the dual feeding system on there, then I would always try it without necessarily adjusting the machine. But you do have what we call a floating foot function. So it's a button
Love
on...
the floating foot front.
That-
It's easy for me to say, so I'm just
So
gonna,
I was quite surprised I got that out first time. I thought that was quite good. So the floating foot function on there, again, it's designed when you're using heavier, bulkier fabrics, that it will actually give extra space on the foot clearance, but still give you full foot pressure. So if you are going to go to real thicker fabrics, I would necessarily then say, a longer stitch length is a must because it allows them for the depth of the fabric.
I think people forget that.
Absolutely,
It's easy to forget, yeah.
It's certainly, the rule of thumb on there is generally the thicker the fabric, longer the length you will go to, because again, what you're allowing for is obviously the bulkiness if you're using sort of the waddings, etc. that way. But also when you're doing things like denim, leathers, vinyls, that thick of heavier fabric, put a longer stitch length on there. Again, it looks nicer as well.
No, it does.
It does give a better looking stitch on that one.
It does, and also anything like that, I sew a lot in cork. I don't want a really short stitch length because you don't want it
perforate
ripping.
it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly.
You end up, and that's the same as with vinyls as well, which a lot of people are not realising. Obviously, bag making that very big. If you sew vinyl and you're just using a 2.5mm stitch length, you are basically making it weaker, because you're doing a perforated line. So personally, with something like vinyl, and I would start automatically on 3.5, even 4mm, depending on the thickness. So definitely on that. And again, with the Juki machines, so going back to sort of each machine as well, they both have DC powered motors. So again, very, very strong penetration power. And the great thing with that is when you're sewing slowly, it will give you full penetration power to the needle. So on some machines, you'll feel you've got to build up and race to when you get to the heavy part. Obviously, that's the quickest way to break needles, to damage your machine and things like that. With these machines, with the power of the motor, even if I'm sewing through, let's say, 10 layers of denim, I can sew at a slow pace. The machine itself, it won't struggle, it won't bang, it won't murmur, it will just travel it through. And again, partly to do with the power of the needle, but obviously because of the feed system as well. So combining the sewing system as such, so you haven't got a weak part within the link, as I will say on here. And then with that, so they're both box feed systems. They're both DC motors on here. And as far as when I first started, I was talking about the patterning. They are both 7mm. So even those different ends of the scale, people expect once you start going up, and you look at virtually every other manufacturer out there, you go up the scale, they change the sewing system. And I can guarantee people with the basic sewing system are happier with their machine than they are with people with 3 times, 4 times more expensive machines, where they've messed with the bobbin system, they've messed with the feed system, they've tried to make the patterns too big. And this is why, whether you're spending top of the range money or starting out with the G series, the true Juki build, those criteria will not change. Because as soon as you mess around with that, that's it. You take that performance away.
You could be doing this long enough to know.
And exactly,
that's the thing. They know.
And this is another thing about us being involved as engineers, as sewers, as people who talk to the end users. We're not just a committee in a room saying, right, we now want that, we well want that. That company's now doing this, so we must do that as well. No, that's definitely not the case. So we've had many talks about embroidery systems, about directional feed systems to make the patterns bigger, wider, and we have basically shot them down every single time. It's because 90% of your sewing is straight stitch. And for that, I think when I first said those big patterns, they look impressive, and the chance you're actually using them, or the chance of them actually stitching correctly on certain fabrics, because when you see them a lot of times stitched out, it's done on a little bit of calico on that, and it's not going to go wrong. But when you actually try and do it on a garment, you're doing it on a large piece of fabric where you've got weight, you've got movement, those feed systems are not strong enough. If you want big patterns, just go to an embroidery machine. Much easier. And it's a standalone embroidery machine. It's not a combination machine, but it does embroidery and sewing, because again, it's still played around with the sewing system on that. So if you want the highest and best performance, standalone embroidery machine, standalone sewing machine, and that way you are going to get the best performance. But also, another reason I would say that as well, when you've got a tool that does 2 jobs, obviously you can only do 1 job at a time. Where if you've got sort of that to do separate jobs, at least while your embroidery machine's embroidering,
be doing its thing,
you can still be sewing as well. So you've got the best of both worlds on there.
Perfect. So we've got a G120, we've got a G220. So and then also on that we've got all sorts actually today, working our way through. I'm going to sound like, it's like when someone says, what colour are you getting? How many stitches does the G120 do?
So, looking underneath, as you can see, even though this is sort of, I wouldn't say basic machine, but this is the starting level of that performance, you have got 8 different styles of buttonholes, you have got overlocking, you have got blind hemming, you have got stretch stitching, you have got all your creative stitching as well, cross stitch, satin stitch, applique, you've got the hand effect quilting stitch also built into this. I sell these machines purely for that stitch alone.
Really?
Because it's a £1,000 machine, where the other machine on the market that does the nearest stitch to this is a machine that does that 1 stitch only, and I think they're about £1,700 now just for that 1 stitch. So this will offer you the hand effect quilt stitch, but obviously, once you start, even though I've had people buy it for that stitch, once they start using it, you recognise that heavier performance. None of them are lightweight machines, but they are all portable machines. Obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm used to carrying these around every single day, but they are starting at 85 kilograms. 8.5, not 85, sorry, 8.5 kilogram. That'd be a heavy
Gareth's
machine,
so
that would be. This is it. Had me
He
weekly
lifted
picks
it
this
with
morning.
his little finger.
And it goes up to sort of 12
Yeah.
onto something like this as well. So, even
Well, we have customers that have the Kiri,
Yep.
and they also have something like the G120, and they'll take that to workshops.
Oh,
They'll
absolutely.
Take that, so they have a portable one, or they'll put it in their motorhome, or they'll have it as the portable one, and then that is the one that stays still.
Because this does still come with your solid hard cover as well, so it's well protected. This will travel. This will go in and out of your car, absolutely no problems at all. Obviously, when you go bigger, one thing they're more difficult, obviously, to carry around because of the extra weight and the size, but obviously there is more chance of clonking it, and you've got sort of more, where something like this,
Really portable.
absolutely, really portable, very, very solid on there as well. And it is one of those things people come to me and say, I want a lightweight machine to take to classes. The problem is you're such used to a nice performance machine at home, something really strong. You get to class with a lightweight machine, again, you just don't enjoy using it.
No.
Or you end up restricting then on what you sew.
Spin it so we can have a look at those stitches, and I'll just pop you on a little close-up.
Yeah.
If I just pop you there so you can see. So it just needs... There you go. If you can just spin that around.
So on there.
There you go.
Right. Right. Forward, not back.
Yeah.
Right. I will get you there. Well, I'll tell you what, as we can do.
There you go. Perfect.
So we can take the lid off. I am not getting used to this camera. I'm not getting used to this camera, am I? That's brilliant. So as we can see, the top line of stitching is our utility stitching. So all your overlocking, your buttonholes, we've got up the quilting section here with the applique, etc. there. The centre row, we've then got our creative decorative. We've got cross stitch, we've got heirloom, we've got satin stitching, so which is really nice. And then underneath it, we have got our alphabet. Block lettering, so no script or anything like that. Again, very illegible. Again, we haven't messed around with the style of lettering on there. We can program in up to 30 characters, so we can write names, addresses, etc. that way for making labels. So we can be so creative with the machine. So with that, we've also then got complete overrideable width control, length control. So being creative, we've got the drop feed on there, so free motion, absolutely no problems at all. So yes, even though this is our introduction machine, our sort of level on that, it's not a basic machine. You've still got a great lot of flexibility on there, but the main thing, whether I'm dressmaking, whether I'm bag making, whether I'm quilting, whether I'm soft furnishing, the power, the strength, the performance of the G series is there. You have got true Juki quality performance. So just in contrast, then if I take off, it's wrong angled there, and then the difference in between the two, as we can see on here, I am going to get it lined up properly, there we go, is you've got a difference between the machine that's going to offer you about sort of 180 different stitches on there to a machine that offers you just under 400 stitches. So with that, you've got, I'd say 16 different buttonholes instead of 9 different or 8 different buttonholes. You've then got more overlocking, you've got more flexibility on the hemming, on the creative sewing, on the satin stitching. So yes, you've got a lot more there to play with actually built into it. Obviously the machine itself has got a lot of other features difference on there, but that just shows you the actual amount of stitches. Also, they are both, as I said before, there's 7mm stitch width on there, so the performance level, it doesn't curl your fabric, it doesn't sort of give you that ridging in your fabric. So it still comes out, the satin stitch quality is absolutely fantastic on there. So that's the difference between the two. Obviously, we've got the DX machines in the middle as well. The DX range, again, will offer you everything the G series will offer you, but then just takes it a little bit further. So you've got a few more alphabets, a few more buttonholes, again, different types of creative sewing, different types of quilting stitches, etc. So that's the DX series, which then sits in between the two on here. So let's pop that back on there, and then pop that back on there.
So they are opposite ends of the spectrum. Now we had a question from someone who was saying, Oh, it's Michelle. I've just lost Michelle in my feed. Have you got it there, Gemma? Yeah. So, oh, here we go. She wants a workshop machine. So, do I get the DX3 or the G220?
This is it. So, right, which one? So, again, what is the difference between the three?
Yeah.
As first of all, again, going to the DXs within the G series, the sewing system is the same. So, performance level, apart from the DX actually offering 100 stitches more a minute,
Right.
the performance level is the same.
Okay.
So again, criteria, rotary hook system and box feed system, DC motor, 7mm stitch width. So that sewing system again, exactly the same in it. But if I open it up now, as you can see, you are going to get then a few more stitches built into it. So again, it's upgrading stitch performance wise, but one of the big differences on here now, you can be more creative. Go into the DX series.
So there's, just to be clear, there's £250 difference on these.
On the
these
two, in the
machines.
difference in the price
so the
on
DX3
there, yeah.
should be 1,345. With us, it's 1,145. So
Yeah.
you've already, what you've saved in getting the X demo,
Yeah.
hopefully means you can upgrade to the one that you want.
And that is the thing
Yeah.
on there, because again, what you'll be paying then, say for the, even not for the 120, because the DXs all have thread trimmers on. So which obviously the 220 at 900 has got the thread trimmer. So it brings it down even that a little bit more closer. So the difference is I can be more creative on the DX series. So the G series, again, it's that get on and sew, heavy performance, whether I'm sewing silk, satin, leather, denim, it just goes through it, the same as what the Jukis do.
Yeah.
But what you have got on the stitch wise, again, you've got a lot there to play with, but you haven't necessarily got the creative side as much on there as well. Obviously, your creativity is there with your satin stitching and your hemming, etc. that way. But now with the different stitches on the DX series, you've now got memory control. So
you can build your
you
stitches.
can build your stitches. Also, I've got elongation. I've got two-way mirror image. So I can start playing around with the stitches more as well. So that's sort of one of the big differences between the two, that creativity side.
Beauty of it though, isn't it? Because you know, Michelle, what sort of workshops, we don't know what sort of workshops you're booking yourself in for and what you love to do. If you love bag making, then the G series is going to be just fine for you.
And also, it's what you've got at home as well. It's because when you go to a workshop, you're not necessarily going to have time to play. You go to a workshop, you get a job done. So therefore, obviously the G series is going to give you the performance the same. And it's then at home, you might already have that creative machine. So I didn't hear whether Michelle said you had what machine you have at home already.
I don't know that she said.
On that one. But say if you've got that where at home you've got more, you may have more time to start playing. So that's where the creative machine you might have. So therefore at a class you might not necessarily want the creative side. But if you haven't got a creative side at home, you might think, actually, this is the time to invest into that.
So we will never try and sell your machine. We will give you the information and then you pick for what suits you. What I will tell you is that I have 2 of the DX3s and I only have 1 of the G220.
Yes.
That's all that I have.
We've got the 120, 220. And you say, but we'd have the 2 of the DX3s.
And when they are gone, they are gone until next year.
So, other little differences
After
on
the
there
show
is these does come with more accessories.
Okay.
So you can build on. So it does have the capability of the knee lifter.
Right.
So on there, and it's basically an attachment you can buy. I think they're £39. So
Yeah.
again, not expensive, the attachments. That's another little thing about standard feet. Domestic manufacturers out there now, the big names on there, on a basic sewing foot, they're charging £22 just for a basic replacement sewing foot. Most standard feet on Juki are £12.95. So value-wise for accessories, absolutely brilliant.
It is brilliant.
Say knee lifter, £39. Extension table, £89. So they are very, very, and they're built well.
What
Obviously
is
very,
the
very
weight
good.
difference between these? So the G series, we're looking at 8.5 kilos.
That's right. It basically, I think it's 0.3 of a kilo.
Difference.
More.
Okay.
There's very, very little, and again for classroom, obviously quite important that it's not twice as heavy to carry around. Obviously, still comes with the hard cover, so it's still protected on here. And then one of the other big differences between going then to the DX series over the G series is the foot control. So, excuse me, ducking down here. with the foot control on the G series, it comes with your standard accelerator. So you've still got start-stop facility, and you can still use it without the foot control with the slider control on here. But the foot control is just your normal variable speed control. Once you go to the DX, again, you've got your start-stop option, so you don't have to use the foot control. Your accelerator at the front, but we have what we call the heel back, which is here, and that is your thread trimmer. So you've got the thread trimmer button manually on the machine. I can program it so it does it automatically, but also, as we do on the industrials, what we call the heel back. So as you're sewing, you stop, put your heel back, click, and it cuts the threads for you.
Do you know
so,
what I discovered, Gary? And I'm just going to give this as just a little trick for anyone that's got more than one machine. That is actually the foot for my DX7.
Yes.
Now I've put that on my TL.
Yep.
And that function I now still have on that foot. It's programmed into the foot. I didn't realise. I assumed it was with the sewing machine.
Yeah, no, it's programmed into there as well.
So it's programmed into the foot. So the other day I was doing a foot and I hadn't twigged that I'd got the wrong foot on it. And I was like, oh, wait, hang on, this is my TL. And I suddenly twigged. I was like, oh my goodness, that function is in the foot.
And you've got in the foot for the underbed trimmer.
So actually, what I've got is I've got a DX7, but I now have a TL22 that has that capability.
Yep.
In that, if I just switch my, so it's great.
With absolutely, again,
I've just upgraded my industrial
with that.
Winner.
But
Brilliant.
what I will also say now, they do come with these. So the very early versions did you have the two-piece foot control on your one?
I can't remember.
That. Right, on that. But they did, that's something they very, very quickly upgraded. Is because, the capabilities in the foot control on that. So now all the TLs, and to be fair, your Platinum does have that as well.
Oh, well, in that case, maybe that is the right foot, and I was just really thrilled. But either way, I was thrilled.
But I say, you may not have had it on your earlier one, and that's where you've discovered it. So, so the DX also then has the underbed trimmer. And to be fair, you can't upgrade the G series to take one of these. So it's one of those things. It is just for the DX market on there.
I've got a quick message here from Megan who says, hi, whenever I have difficulty sewing on my DX7, I listen to Gary's mantra. New needle, longer stitch, slow down.
Wonderful.
And then achieve brilliant results. This is it, isn't it? There's so often a really simple thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
I've got a message here from Stacey. She bought her machine from Crate and Craft.
Yep.
And she's had a few problems with it that she hasn't managed to resolve. So after the show, if we can sort that for her, even though she didn't buy it from us, it's still a G machine.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. Again, we're here. Just you can contact us directly as well.
Yeah.
Again, brilliant. Obviously, you're great with our customers as well. Even though it's say Crate and Craft, you're still happy. You're still Juki UK family.
Well,
it's brilliant
the thing,
that way.
isn't it? You know, yeah.
Yeah. Or I say, you can then even just contact the workshop now. You can phone them now, speak to them. Oh, obviously not now, after the show,
no.
of course, not during the show.
Yeah, what I'm going to say, Stacey, is if you email us your phone number at info@natashamakes.com, just email us your phone number and we'll get you on to Gary.
That'd be great.
After the show.
And also, if you can just put on the email, please, just what you're having queries with, with the problems with, and we can have a play and certainly solve that. No problem.
There we go. Okay, so that is that sorted, and that's what we will, that we will do for you. That's no problem. Right, what's next, Gary?
Yep. So creativity, but as you say, the machine itself is the same size.
Okay, perfect.
Because looking at it, and I haven't really sort of noticed it that much. A lot of people think this is a slightly bigger machine, but
I would have said it the other way round. I would have said that
this was bigger. No, right. I think the light's on there as well, but they both have 8-inch arms.
Right.
20 centimetres. So again, it's nice. The UX and the NX series, this is then going up to the 12-inch arm, 30 centimetres.
If you are a serious serial quilter that's doing really big quilts.
Oh yeah,
that's when that is an absolute.
But it's one of those things, and I think it's sort of we all recognise it.
Yeah.
We have a house.
Yeah.
We move house, we get bigger rooms.
Yeah.
What do? We fill those and we want bigger rooms again.
Yeah.
We always outgrow it. And it's the same as with the arm. Yes, the long arms are basically developed and they come in, quilters were demanding long arm. But once you've got long arm, soft furnishing, anything where you, certainly wedding dresses, anything like that where you've got bulk and things like that. The more you've got, the more you want on that side. It's always the way, isn't it? Yeah, just more space. So so the 12-inch arm, obviously, but it's not the sort of thing where necessarily you'd be carrying it around too much to classes. So going back to sort of Michelle's answer, certainly both of these just as portable as each other. Basically, the weight is the same. Both come with hard covers to carry around. If you want extra flexibility, which you might not have on a machine you've got at home, then this will certainly give you that.
So Michelle has replied, she says she has the NX7, so needs a smaller machine to take in the car.
Wonderful. So you've got all the toys, you've got the play, you've got all the mirror image, you've got the programming, you've got everything that way.
So you've got that at home.
So if you've got that at home already, unless you know there's specific classes you're going to where you might need that, then obviously the G series is going to give you the same performance of what you're used to, the same performance as the DX. So, so necessarily, obviously, that will cover all your bases on there. Absolutely,
I love Jo.
problem.
She says, I'm fairly fit, healthy pensioner, still carry my DX around.
Excellent.
And that's the thing, is that they are very portable, but heavy enough that they're not going to bounce around on your desktop. And this was the other thing. Another reason coming across to Juki is that because they do have that weight, especially if I'm prepping for a show late at night and I'm staying in a hotel, because I always used to, when I was living in Cornwall, always used to stay in hotels the night before the shows. If I had last minute, because let's face it, you never finish prepping for a show.
No, absolutely.
The show happens, and what you've got prepped is what you've got
just
prepped.
as they go live, you're still rushing around, we know.
Very true, but it doesn't bounce around, so I've never once had a complaint about the noise.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's that performance level.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things on there. Obviously, if you've got a machine that is noisy and you are then just sewing basic fabrics and things like, well, you've got to think, well, the engineering can't be that great to start off with anywhere. We all love, whether it's a sewing machine, whether it's a car, whatever tool it is, it's a tool that you can use and feel happy with, which is smooth, which is quiet, which does a job.
Yeah.
It's just so much more pleasing on there. And then the other way of looking at that, if you've got a smooth, quiet machine for most of your sewing, and until you suddenly hit like lumps and bumps and going over layers, and then suddenly that's when it starts banging and clanging, then that's when you'll get into the limits of what that machine should be doing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sue would like to know if you ever have extra display blind hem machines.
Right, Juki themselves don't produce a blind hemmer.
No.
So, but we do blind hemmers.
We've got a cover stitch machine.
We've got a cover stitch machine. We have got the, and alas, I forgot to bring that with me. I know, that's my fault. As I got here and I thought, no, I've forgotten the cover stitch machine.
We've never sold a cover stitch machine.
No, I know, and that's what annoyed me tonight even more.
Why would someone need a cover stitch machine? Very quickly.
Because if you want the perfect hem, you have a cover stitch machine, because we know doing a twin needle on a sewing machine, yes, it's okay on cottons, non-stretch jerseys, etc. that way. But once you go to t-shirting, once you go to fleeces, to do a twin needle, it will stretch and wave your fabric. It's just the nature of sewing on that. A cover stitch machine, the ones that we do is what they call a 3 needle or 2 needle wide, 2 needle narrow. And it's a bottom cover stitch. Again, it's that typical Juki performance. There's nothing flash, there's nothing special. There's other cover stitches that allegedly do more, but all I can say
do they do them well? That is the question.
It's that performance level. This machine will go over those double folded hems, but when you use it, you appreciate again how smooth, how well it's built. Metal chassis inside, so it's quiet, it's smooth, but it will cope everything from lighter sheer fabrics to t-shirting to fleece without, again, you having to play around with.
We've got £200 off that, Garry,
and
which
there
is a big discount because we've got one of these.
There is literally only one we have on there.
So it should be $995. It is $795 for you. So that's, and again, if you want it, grab it, because when it's gone, it's gone. There's only one of these. This isn't a, you know, often I think people watch shopping telly and think there's going to be that magic phone call to produce more. No, these are X demonstration ones. Yeah. If there's only one X demo, there's only one X demo.
Exactly. You have got, you say, you've got my full list. You've got what I've got, and that is it. So we do know it is limited. It's not a sales ploy. They won't suddenly magically appear any more of these. Obviously, cover stitches are not necessarily the biggest selling machinery out there, but they are getting more and more popular. And the way I put it over,
sewing bee helps with
it does. But also, I put it back where years ago people doubted an overlocker. Do I want one? Do I need one? Can I put up with one? There you go. And I think people at home would turn around and say, Doing you wrong, if you've got a bad overlocker, you're probably not saying this, but if you've got a good overlocker, Juki overlocker, and then you are probably sitting there exactly what you love your overlocker.
Right,
Because it's a tool that
so-
does a brilliant job.
I started wanting an overlocker 9 years ago when I started doing shows with you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford one at the time. It was out of my remit, couldn't afford one. I bought cheaper. I hated it. It
Yeah.
was such a faff. I've got the one with the whoosh.
Yes.
But now
yeah.
I've got the Juki with the whoosh. And Gemma is exactly the same. Same story.
Well,
we bought cheaper because we couldn't afford the one with the whoosh, and then wished we hadn't, wished we'd just saved because we would have ended up with the one we wanted sooner.
Natasha, do you know what I did?
What?
I had mine that I was too scared to thread, and then I had my mum's offer. So I had one threaded in white and one threaded in black, and it was ridiculous.
I don't know if you can hear this, but Gemma basically ended up with two, one in
Yeah.
white, one in black, so she never had to re-thread unless you wanted another colour, in which case you just changed what you were selling.
And it was still rubbish.
But now we both have the overlockers
MO,
with the whoosh.
the MO 1000s you've got on here. We have got an MO the 2000, which alas we haven't got here either. We've sold out of MO 1000s. Both our Extend ones gone, and I've got no brand new ones in stock either. MO 2000s, I'm afraid my Extend one did go at the last exhibition because
Do
people.
we need to take that off the...
We haven't got MO 2000 on there.
Oh no, we haven't got the... No, we've got the... Oh, they've got the...
No, but what we have got is something a bit special.
Oh, even better.
Is we've got the MO 2500, which I'm going to go through. I'm going to show you the overlockers in a minute.
Yes.
So I'll go through those in a minute before we change over from the sewing side on there.
It's so easy, isn't it, to jump around when we've
Oh,
got so
this is
much
great
to show
fun.
you.
This is the great thing about it. Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Or milk, one sugar. It'd be great. Thank you very much. So, yeah, obviously I'm looking a bit tired. It's like, I need caffeine pick up. It's great.
We'll get that pick up. So we have had a quick look around the G series.
Yeah.
We have got here the DX. In front of you, we've got the DX3.
Yeah, so the DX3 also then a couple of little features in the criteria on there. I say that more creativity on there.
Yes.
Also, other features, the buttonhole system. This has the sensor buttonhole system on it. So if you are the dressmaker, then certainly I think, say, Michelle would know from her NX at home,
Yeah.
this has got exactly the same buttonhole system as the UX and the NX.
Yes.
So it's the one-step buttonhole, but it does it in 7 or 8 stages,
Brilliant.
not just 4 stages. So most are doing a 4 or 5 stage buttonhole. So it just goes around the edges on there. The reason ours does it in 7 or generally 8 stages is because it reinforces. So it's more like a tailored buttonhole where it does the stitching underneath before it does the actual beading itself. So it makes the bead stand up, but also it stops it from stretching, so it holds its shape a lot better. So the button goes into the back. To be fair, like most now buttonhole machines will do. So it will measure
Should we
the
do that
button
on a
for you.
close-up so we can see? There you go.
So on
There.
here, there we go. So the button will sit in the back,
Yep.
so it then just measures it according to, and you say that's what most of them do.
Yes.
But the difference is, as you notice, this has got a little jack plug wire on here. So that will then just plug into the side of the machine because the fabric actually sits in here. The fabric doesn't actually touch the feed at all.
Right.
So it's the same as way as we are industrial machines would do it. It's a clamping system. So the idea of that, it's not relying then on a count system, it's actually relying on the actual length system on there. So therefore, I don't know how many people have done buttonholes at home where you've done your test one, you go and do your garment, 3 of them come out fine, but you get to the top one, because you've then got a double bulk of fabric or something like that here, where you've got extra stiffener or something like that, it comes out a different size. It's because it's hit that point and it will stick
Right.
on there. Obviously with this system on here, it
Clamp
has to
it.
be perfect. So it doesn't matter whether I'm doing it on fine shears, stretch, jerseys. Again, because the feed system is not trying to grip the fabric,
Yeah.
even though it's the box feed system, but on buttonholes and something so fine, you want it to travel absolutely perfect, and this is the way it travels perfect on there.
It's so
So-
clever, isn't it? This is what I love about Juki. Years of experience, they just know what they are doing.
Absolutely. And then going to the G series buttonhole, this goes to it still measures the button for you and it still does it in 6 and 7 stages. So it's still a very, very good buttonhole, but it hasn't got the fabric gauging on it. This one does it like...
So there's and the thing is that at that price, it's £200 less, £250 less.
Yeah.
You are there have to be differences.
Exactly.
You know, there have to be
Yeah,
differences.
there's got to be a reason why to move up.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also one of the other differences on here as well. I'll just pop that back in. Is you've got. Oh, I don't know if we can sort of how easy we're going to see in here.
Well, let's just try. Shall we go?
So I sort of turn that
Bring it. There it needs to go.
that way,
Back.
that way.
Back, there.
About
Sort of
so
there.
on there, on the needle plate. They've got the quick step needle plate, so it automatically cuts the thread. It holds the thread, so you then don't have to bring it up manually. And then when you finish, it will cut and hold the threads for me.
Yeah.
So it's got that. But the big difference on the needle plate is, let's take the plate up there,
Do you want me to move the other one out of the way?
is this little switch in there. There's a little switch, so it's basically by flicking that across, what it will do, it will turn a zigzag needle plate into a straight stitch needle plate.
Amazing. So then it's like with the industrial where it can only do that straight
Literally,
stitch. It won't let you do anything
no,
else.
the machine will recognise what you've done,
Yeah.
and because it's obviously that single round holes, then for real fine sheer fabrics, there's less movement, obviously, therefore there's less chance of it puckering or pulling that way. So that is what the DX will offer again, where obviously go back to Michelle as well. Obviously, your NX has got an interchangeable needle plate and feed, the same as what the UX has got. So then the DX is that next step where you've got a little switch. So it's again very simple. So no plates to change or anything like that. But then obviously going to the G series then hasn't got that facility.
Yeah.
So again, there's that little difference between the models and ranges as well.
Yeah, perfect.
I pop those back in. All of the machines themselves, both the DX and the G series do not come with the extension tables, but they are both available as an optional extra for them on there.
I've got a lovely message here from Carol who said, beautiful buttonholes every time. As soon as I got my Juki, I made endless shirts.
Wonderful. Again, that is the thing. Is so many people I speak to, I don't do buttonholes. They've been put off doing buttonholes is because, again, what I said, they get a repeat and then suddenly one of them doesn't go right. You've got to sit there unpicking it, and it's just painful to do. Where, thank you, with that system, again, every one of them repeats exactly the same, and you're more likely to use them on there. So
What I love about these shows is
brilliant.
we don't have to sell the Juki machines because you lot that have got them do it for us.
And that's the one thing over
lovely.
these, say, all these years, sort of going back 25 years when we first started doing exhibitions, I've got to say probably 90% of people walked in and said, who are Juki? Never heard of Juki. Because I say, we are not mass merchandise companies.
No.
You can't go into a department store, you can't go into a catalogue place or anything like that.
I hadn't heard of it.
Not heard of it, but even though, we say, we've now been manufacturing sewing machines now for nearly 85 years.
Yeah.
We are not a new company.
No.
And a lot of people know us for our industrial machines first, but we actually manufactured a domestic machine first. We weren't, and because of the development of our domestic machines, which actually then how well they were built, they were good enough to go to an industrial machine, and then they concentrated more on the industrial side, and the domestic side sort of dropped down a bit.
Yeah.
And then obviously going back, say, 30 odd years ago, when they first started really producing more domestic machines, and 25 years ago then when we joined in with them, we have just developed the range for domestic customers, but keeping that industrial performance, so which is absolutely brilliant. So, and the nice thing without that, now people come to me, where years ago they come and said, well, I've never heard of Juki. Now we're getting people say with the phone, they love their machine, they love their Juki, they're recommending them to friends.
Yeah.
Where that is what we strive to do, but also this is where we actually sat down, and as I sort of said before, we could be 16 different countries in a room, and we all sat down and we just didn't want to fall into that trap of mass merchandise, because that's when quality level drops, that's when performance levels drops, but also that's when the name drops, because you can get a manufacturer with a name on it, because when people sort of say, what name should I go for? I say, generally don't look at a name, look at the machine.
Yeah.
Because you can buy a name on something, and it doesn't mean it's made by them. Or there's a company out there, they have factories in different countries, and they will do anything from a sub £100 sewing machine to a £10,000 sewing machine. It's got the same name on it, but they are completely different builds and different qualities and things like that.
Well, it used to be that you had a Singer and you knew that you had a great machine. I don't even know where Singer is manufactured anymore, or if it is actually Singer that manufacture their own machines anymore. And that's the thing, unless you know,
well, it's like a lot of times now, and it's not just our industry; it's many industries out there. And he would say, going to those big names that have been around forever, obviously got a great background, good English, like heritage as such to say. Alas, now they haven't actually got a single manufacturing factory.
Yeah.
So again, it's just badges on machines.
It is amazing, isn't it, how a name can stay,
Yes.
and you associate and you expect that it's going to be great. Well, like you say, there'll be some people that haven't heard of Juki and just don't know how great these machines are.
No, that's exactly. And there's a couple of little also the rumours around going around. There's a lot of people think they're American.
Juki?
Yeah,
No.
because of how big they are on the internet. And we
Okay.
say, oh, so my brother works for Juki America. There's no hiding that. He's been in the sewing machine business now 40 odd years, so obviously longer than me on that one, and that's where he's stayed and his passion is. He used to work in the UK, and obviously we worked together for many, many years with the sewing machine side, and it's just one of these passions where he left, he went to Canada, he did logging, he did this, he just tried many, many different things as you do growing through to see where you fit, and he's come back into the sewing machine trade because that's where he's happiest on there, which is great.
You see, lovely Pat says, I hadn't heard of Juki until watching Natasha.
Brilliant.
I won't sell anything else, and it comes back to the ethos of I won't sell anything I wouldn't be happy to have myself.
And that's brilliant.
And that's it. I can't, because authenticity is very important to me, and I won't do it.
But also, as you say, if it wasn't for your customers, our customers then phoning in, writing in, saying, I love my machine, this is brilliant. Because on the other side of it, I'm quite happy, like with the customers, say, who's not getting on with their machine.
Yeah,
we want to hear that as well. Yeah. Because 9 times out of 10, as I think one of the other ladies said, it was queries she was having, not necessarily the machine. We have got helplines, we have got engineers, we have got service people, we have got technicians on the sewing side, on the helpline. If you ever query, do never hesitate to contact us. We are there for you.
Yeah, and I know that we've got this customer who's had a bit of trouble from Create and Craft. The trouble is, if she's bought from Create and Craft, you've got to go through the Create and Craft process to then get there. Whereas because we're smaller,
yes, indeed,
we'll just point you in the right direction. And we'll help you after the show. We'll get it sorted for you. End of. That's it. It's, as far as I'm concerned, that's done. And that's
you are an individual. Obviously, I know your team, but you are basically an individual who will help individual customer. Your customers are a name; they're not a number.
No.
And that's the big difference on there. When a big customer becomes a number, that's when you're there. But you know your customers know you. They know they can speak to you. Yeah. And we always say, oh, I've got a daft question. There's no such thing as a daft question, because what you feel is daft, the next person again might think, hang on a second, I've got that same problem as well. But they haven't actually asked the question. So no, never hesitate. Again, you can contact us directly.
Pat's gone on to buy 3 machines, so she's happy. She's happy, buddy.
And that's the thing with that Juki level. Once you sort of get into that Juki performance and you just think, hang on, this is what a sewing machine should feel like and should do what it should do. That's when I kind of
wish everyone got that chance to feel what it should be like. Because like I said, for years I felt like it was me.
Yeah.
I left my grandmother's Singer. It was the worst mistake I made, was to leave that Singer sewing machine that was 65 years old. And I thought I was upgrading.
Yeah.
To this other machine, and it just wasn't.
No, and this is where we say, but a lot of people, when they look to upgrade, first thing they do is look at stitches. Yeah. And I say, I am very much, and I will repeat myself again, last thing to do is look at stitching. It's the same as if you actually go in and have a machine demonstrated. And I would always recommend, you obviously, with ourselves, we use machines all the time. We are here. We're not just box sellers. No. So on there, so we know what we're selling on there. Obviously, there's places out there who will just give you a box, haven't got a clue. You ask them a question. It's a sewing machine, I think, is their answer, no, sort of thing. Where obviously, if you go actually sit down with somebody and actually have a run through, if you can find somebody that way, and it's like when we're here when we do our demonstrations, I have got a big box of fabric behind me with every single piece of fabric in there, because if I sat with someone and they sewed on one type of fabric and they were happy with that, then no, sorry, is that all your machine's capable of doing? Where obviously with ourselves, we've got everything. It's because you should be able to sit down or see a machine working on everything. And if the person's frightened of doing something, it's not, it's probably not going to be good doing it.
Well, that's the thing. So if any of you are buying today, have a look at the list of the machines on natashamakes.com. They're all up there under today's show banner. Have a look, and if you want to see any of these working in, before your very eyes, then please do. Obviously, the TL you see me use day in, day out. I use that every day on the shows. So you know what that one does. That's a straight stitch. The G. This is the first time I've had the G series on the shows.
Yeah.
The DX3 is not dissimilar to the DX7.
So they do the DX series.
Yeah.
So as we've covered the 2G series, the 120 to 220,
Yes.
the only difference is the thread trimmer
Yes.
between the two. There's the DX3, the DX5, the DX7,
Yeah.
and some people will know of the DX2000 as well.
Ooh, yes.
So the DX2000 QVP is our special edition one. Just to squash everything now, the DX7 and the DX2000 is exactly the same machine.
Yes.
So it's just the 2000 came with some extra bits and pieces. The QVP, Quilting Virtuosa Plus, so it came with some more quilting attachments. But the actual machine physically is exactly the same. As I said at the top of the show, when we do a special edition, we don't change things for the sake of changing them, because in years to come that will cause a problem. So our special edition machine is, say, exactly the same machine but with extras in there. So 2000 and the DX7, which is the top of the range on there, but at the moment they're 1695, and the 2000 we can't get at the moment. So, but then you're looking then obviously £500 more. So for that, yes, you might get the extension table, you might get the knee lifter, that's included within the price. But again, it's nothing you can't add on to the DX3 if you want to upgrade. Not everybody wants it. So if you're carrying it to class and things like that, you're not necessarily going to want the extension tables and the bits and pieces that way.
So it's making that decision, isn't it? It's Michelle wants them all now. Which is, we have not helped her narrow her search.
No,
which is a small problem. But all I would say is that if somebody buys the G series before you, then that's decision made.
That's it.
It's only going to be the DX3 that we then have left. So
definitely just narrowing it down, probably one extra bit on that, and I probably should have already thought of this as well, because of having the NX. I would definitely take the 120 off the table, because if you suddenly lose a thread trimmer, that's
okay, so
you're going to keep going to want to press the
table.
button and it's not there. So personally, I'd take that one off the table.
The G220.
That's right.
That does have the needle threader.
Which does have the needle threader and the thread trimmer.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. They all have needle threaders. So one thing of this also actually saying that, but thank you for reminding me. That's why you said needle threader, because it just reminded me.
Yeah, because I need a new one.
Oh no, that's done. I've sorted that.
Have you already
that's
sorted
already
that?
done. That is. There's no worries there
I
at
just
all.
have a standing order with Garrett. It's a standing joke and a standing order that every time he has to bring a new needle threader for me, because invariably, because these travel, these move around with me.
Needle threaders. Let's talk about needle threaders on here.
Go on. They are consumable.
Right across the board, they are a consumable part. Most needle threaders, all of our needle threaders, you can just pull off and push on. We get people to say needle threaders are useless, and I know I'm going to get probably scolded for this. Is needle threaders are brilliant when they're used right. They're dreadful when they're not. And 9 times out of 10, a needle threader is used wrong in the first moments of you getting your new machine.
And this is the problem. And then you've twisted it slightly. And because it's such an accurate piece of equipment, and it needs to be because of the size of the needle.
The actual threader wire itself is, I think it's 0.15 mil thick.
Yeah.
That's how fine it is on there. So it doesn't take a lot to bend it.
No.
So if your needle is not in the perfect position, if you're using a size 60 needle, if you're using a size 70 needle with slightly thicker thread, there's lots of these slight variations. And a lot of people then just say, oh, it's a rubbish needle threader. Needle threaders are really good, but you say it can be used fractionally wrong once and it will just never work again. And the machine could be a brand new machine.
But the good news is
they're consumable parts which are easily replaced.
And they're not expensive
to replace. And I pretty much guarantee once you've done it wrong once you replace it, you will never do it again, and your needle threader will work for the rest of its life, unless you are then obviously moving it around and things like that. So the DX series has the same needle threader as the NX and UX, so it's that one step, push the handle down, and it automatically turns in, lined up automatically. Going to the G series, the G series has an auto turn, but it doesn't. You have to hold the threads. So both the DX and the UX hold the threads for you, and the NX. So fully automatic. the G series is sort of semi-automatic on there as well.
I'm just chuckling because Carol says it takes practice not to move the wheel so the needle threads perfectly. And this is it. If you've had if you've had an older machine where you've had to get that needle in that upright position perfectly in order to thread it, then you know what I mean. But with these, all you have to do is make sure it's in the needle up position.
You've got, on all of our machines, you've got needle up, needle down button. Use that, absolutely fine. On all the balance wheels, there's markings on the balance wheels as well, so we know exactly where the line up is there as well. But personally, so again, bit of that consumer advice. Let's do that bit now. Yeah. And it's not just Juki, it's every single machine with, once you get now a modern machine on there, most of them now have the electronics, needle up, needle down, thread trimmers, needle threaders, etc. that way. And it's not just the needle threader, it's the take-up lever, it's the threading of the machine as well. If you can train yourself never ever to touch the balance wheel, and it's so difficult for people to do because for generations we've been sewing and we've been using this as the handle and we've just naturally done it. And I've had it where I speak to people on the phone and say, right, to be fair, are you doing this? And no, I'm not touching the balance wheel. They come into the shop, I will sit with them, and straight away they've gone, and I said, you told me you didn't do that. Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't use it. And it's something we've naturally just done for years, so we naturally do it. If you can avoid...
I use my balance wheel is if I need to go very slowly over a zip or something like that. It's the only time I'll hand crank it over there, and that's the only time that I will use my balance wheel. So
don't get me wrong, it's not going to damage the machine using it, but if you don't use it correctly, i.e. you don't leave the needle in the right position. So a list of things. If you're getting loops of threads, if you're getting the thread pull out the eye of your needle, if you're getting big loops of thread underneath, it's generally all to do with the balance wheel has been moved. So if you've moved the balance wheel, if you notice now, you cannot see the take-up lever in the machine. If I move the balance wheel up, the take-up lever is here. So when people, if you've touched that and it's gone down and you thread the machine up, and 9 times out of 10 it will then miss that take-up lever. So therefore, when you start sewing, that's when it goes bang, 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 and you get lots of threads underneath. It can wrap its around the bobbin case. It's because it's been incorrect threaded. And 9 times out of 10, it's mainly because it's not in the take-up lever. And the reason because of that, 9 times out of 10, is because the hand wheel has been moved. So if you never move the hand wheel and you use the needle up, needle down, that's always going to be in the correct position. If you have threaded it up, and then you've turned it over by hand and you've started to stitch, so your take-up lever is then going down, then it's okay. But if you've got to a point where your first stitch, the take-up lever is going to come up, if you've got your needle with your thread through it, and the take-up lever's got to go up, where's the thread going to go? Just pulls it straight out. But if your needle of your take-up lever is going to go down on its first stroke, therefore it's not going to pull it out. So again, there's lots of little queries in that which can be solved by not touching the balance wheel. So on modern machines, needle up, needle down is your thread.
Sorted.
Absolutely.
Good news, Michelle is sorted. DX3 it is then. She's
wonderful.
Never going back to threading a needle manually or semi-manually.
Or semi-manually. Exactly.
The horror of it.
Well, the thing is, we knew we'd get there eventually with the little bits in there, and
that's just it, isn't it? It's knowing. You know what you want and what you need. Bridget says, does the DX3 have the function to move the needle to sew a 1/4 of an inch seam like her NX7?
It does, yep. So, and again, this is where something on the G series, you've got 32 needle positions, so you can move it, and again, you will get it precise. On the DX range, you do actually have then a stitch number, which will take you to 1/4 of an inch.
I think it's normally number 3, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. So you know that one
Just,
well.
you know.
And then even though you obviously get your patchwork and 1/4 inch feet, and this is another thing I'm going to say as well, obviously having the NX7, your feet are completely interchangeable.
Brilliant.
Because we've kept a 7mm, we've kept the same feed system, we've not played around with that. So your patchwork feet, your quilting feet, the attachments you've got for this, apart from your free motion embroidery foot. The reason being, this is what they call, this is sort of a semi-high fitting shank. On there. This is a low fitting shank.
So the two are not compatible.
So the UX and NX have the semi-high fitting, and the rest of the range, the DX, the G series, will have the low fitting. So if you've brought ruler feet, if you've got screw-on attachments and things like that,
You just need to know.
then you need to know the fitting on that.
So if you've got any of the Westerly rulers or anything
exactly,
like that, then
yeah.
you just need to know. And they have a list of all the different sewing machines, whether they're high or low shanking.
We've dealt with, we've worked together with Wesley, with Pars, with virtually all of them. We've worked together, and we know they supply feet which will fit perfectly. And coming from Juki as well, we are perfectly happy for, obviously, even though it's not a Juki part, we've worked together with them, so we know it works properly without any damage or problems with the machine.
This is what Garry doesn't know about sewing machines isn't worth knowing. I know, we have regularly said that Garry is the perfect man.
for sewing.
What is the next machine we're going to look at then? We've covered the G series, we've looked at the DX3s. Shall we have a look at the overlockers?
So first of all, well, while we've got the TL,
oh yeah,
we just have a quick update on what the TL. I think most people, we know at home what the TL does and what it offers on that. But if I just move these across. So
mine needs a good old clean, Garry.
it does indeed. Right, well, the great thing about that then, don't want to embarrass you, obviously live, but
no, that's fine.
Let's take the plate off and have a little look at that.
Yeah,
So, maintenance side. Obviously, there's a large amount of us out there with the TL machine.
Yes.
When it comes to this type of machine, another good thing about this is servicing. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
On there, it doesn't need servicing every year. It doesn't need servicing every 5 years. Don't get me wrong. There's always an exception to the rule. If you're absolutely hammering with your machine and you don't look after it, please have it serviced by a professional. But if you do look after your machine, you brush the fluff out regular, you oil it regular, and change the needle regular, of course, then it will just go on forever and ever, and you're going to save yourself, I don't know, £60, £100 on a servicing costs.
Yeah.
So on all of our machines, there is no restrictions in warranties, i.e. there's some warranties out there where you need to have your machine serviced every year to keep the warranty up.
Right.
That's not us. Your machines don't need servicing every year.
Well, especially if you're someone that's had a busy 6 months with work or something and you've barely touched it.
Yeah.
That's so annoying, isn't it, to have to put that money in to have it when you've not even used it.
That's it. But if you do sort of just take a bit of time, sort of 5-10 minutes every couple of weeks, depending on if you're sewing every month on that, to take the plate off, to brush the fluff out, you're going to save yourself that money anyway. But not only that, it's just got to be a nicer machine to use. It's on that, keeping that fluff out, because
we have one of these, Garry, and not to scare anybody here, but we only have 2 of the DX3s. We only have 1 of the G series, the 220s and the G 120s. We have 2 of the UXs. And we have 1 of these.
Yeah.
So that is it. And when they're gone, that's it, they're gone.
This is it. Again, it is just very limited. And to be fair, obviously, at exhibitions, we do have 5 or 6 of these. We don't just have 1 of these because of how popular they are. And this is the only one, you say, the rest of them actually went at the exhibition. They buy them, X them, they take them away with them, etc. that way. So, obviously, this one is your one, but we do only have the one left on there. Yes. So, on there. It's a high-speed, straight-stitch, tabletop industrial machine. That's what I can basically narrow it down to. And it is a proper industrial-made machine. It's not a stretched domestic machine. I know at the top of the show I started talking about that. Basically, what I mean by that, there's other companies out there who have made long-arm, straight-stitch machines, and they're all made in their domestic factory. So therefore, they've got plastic gears. They're built the same as a domestic machine, but just in a bigger way. These are actually from our industrial factory. These are not from a domestic factory. So this is why it is all metal, but also it's why the performance inside. So
I love it.
It's just that sound so much alone.
And the number of times that we do a show and the viewers will say, oh, just listen to it.
Indeed, it runs. It's just
brilliant. Yes, it does.
There. So 1,500 stitches a minute. But as you notice, even with the foot control, I have got fantastic control over the needle. It won't just race away, but I have got my tortoise and hair on the side there as well.
The only time that I have turned that down is when Emily was Oh, she was 3 and she was learning to sew.
And then it's
Emily learned to sew on this machine.
Brilliant.
At the age of 3.
yeah. Well, it's something like that. Again, it's
We had to put the foot pedal on a block for
yeah,
her.
excellent.
I'm
Sit
not
on
gonna
there.
lie, but yeah.
But having I always sort of say having a machine like this is a luxury.
Yeah.
It's if you've got to the stage on that, then it's fantastic. Got that. But if you can learn to sew on a straight stitch machine, like to be fair, I did years
Yeah.
ago when I
Yeah.
first started. It was on
Same.
a hand machine, treadle machine, and you work your way up from that. It's only then you can appreciate sort of necessary then having built-in needle threaders, having thread trimmers and things like that, and then having the creativity, the patterns, the overlocking, where if you can start on a straight stitch machine and then you're building your confidence in sewing,
Yes.
then you make life easier.
Yes.
Because if you have an easy life to start off with,
Yeah.
when you do have queries or problems, it's hard to go back to basics if you've never had basics.
Yeah.
Where starting with basics, I feel it sorts your sewing out. It's like anything. You start from the lowest and build you up. There's going to be no hurdles in between. If you
No.
start high, and then there's stages that you might not know.
I'm a horsey
on there.
girl, and you start out on ponies, and they
Yeah.
can be blinking difficult. But if you can learn, especially Shetlands, if you can learn to ride a Shetland properly, by the time you get onto a 16-2 thoroughbred, you're away.
Yeah, this
You know, it's just
absolutely should be a dodder where a lot of people to look at them to start off with would think that's going to be the more difficult one.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
again, it's like looking at this, it can be, oh, hang on a second here.
No,
where you
because it
start and
does
build up
everything
your
for you.
confidence,
Yeah.
then you realise if you learn basic sewing, and it's one of those things again over the years, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can use that. Well, that sewing machine is 90% that sewing machine.
yeah.
Okay, it's got a needle, it's got a bobbin, it's got a stitch length, it's got a tension control, it's got foot pressure. That's the criteria of all sewing machines.
Yeah.
So when you are looking from one machine to the next, yes, it may be more fancy, more buttons, etc., but it's still a sewing machine.
So that one there, the UX,
Yeah.
that's ours here at Natasha Makes.
Yes, indeed.
I have never actually got a look in with that machine. James saw it on the show, whipped it away, and it's been hers ever since.
Yeah.
I've never actually used it
Well,
because Jane has it.
there's the two ways of looking at that.
Yeah.
One thing, if you haven't got time, and I know
But she
how
does the quilt.
that's it, it's how busy your life is and things like that.
Yeah.
This is a tool you get on and you just sew. You're
Yeah,
confident, you're happy. And I think if you had other machines, this is probably what you would pick up anyway and
Yeah, it
maybe
is.
use
So
it because
I-
you know the job
I
that
use
gets done
that and
on
I
there.
use the DX7. They are my,
Yeah.
they're the two machines that I use because I move them around as well.
That's it.
Whereas Jane has that. She has that on the. She also nicked my sewing desk as well. The
Brilliant.
up and down sewing desk. So she's got all my good gadgets. As
And
Jane.
this is exactly that
Yeah,
setup
yeah,
you've got
yeah.
in there. And this is where, and afterwards I'm going to do this, I'm going to show you on this. And again, when Jane uses it, you can set it up to a walking foot straight stitch machine.
Yeah.
And 90% of our sewing is straight stitch.
Yeah.
And again, this is where this is obviously, don't get me wrong, it is that it's faster, it just does that one job. But being able to convert that to a straight stitch machine,
Brilliant.
you've got that performance level there, or not even just a straight stitch, but a walking foot straight stitch machine as well. So, but obviously
Can
then Jane on the fun side
Yeah.
has got that to play with as well. So
She has.
that's
She
all-
absolutely
she
has.
goes to that side of
Um,
it.
I'd just like to say there is £600 off the UX.
Yes.
£600 saving.
And the main reason that is because that does sound well. If you can afford to drop it by £600, surely you're ripping people stuff. That's my thought a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And not just, don't get me wrong. It's just in general. If I think if you can afford to give 50% off that, a company's still got to make money to run. You think, is it overcharged in the first place to allow that? The UX models have basically just extortionately gone up in price.
Right.
The machines that we've got from the exhibition are from the previous batch. That's why the price. So this is basically where the price was
That's
based
where
on
the older
the
price is.
3495,
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
the 37.
Yeah.
So that's why there seems a big difference in price because normally there wouldn't be because obviously
And you know what? A lot of companies would have gone, well, they're now 3795,
Yeah.
so actually we'll sell it out at what you would have sold that one previously a couple of years ago at. But actually, you know that was stock that you bought in for that amount.
that's exactly
So you
it.
pass that on. And again, that comes down to integrity, and that's why I like working with Juki.
And also with something like that, we know it's not like there's been no upgrades. It's not like it's an older model. This is 10 years in the making. Working with Juki, I love it, but it's also very painful sometimes as well. But painful in a good way is because your DX7, that was a predecessor to the Exceed series on that. The Exceed series, we'd started talking about, where we were in Italy, and we were talking about a long arm machine.
Right.
And believe it or not, an 8-inch arm at that point was going to be one of the longest arms on the market. You could domestically. It took us, nearly, I think, 8 years from first talking to it to bringing it out. And in between that, other companies obviously have brought out machines with longer arms on there. But all I can say is every other manufacturer who got their machines rushed out quite quickly have changed their models quite a few different times throughout those years. The Exceed series, which is basically what the DX series is, the sewing system that has not changed.
No.
So they got it. It took a long time, but they got it right. And it's the same as then with the NX and the UX. So even though the NX come out first, the NX and the UX is basically the same machine, apart from the screen side, the programming side.
Yeah, and so the screen and the programming, you've got a USB port in there. What does that therefore allow?
It makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun and more user-friendly.
So you can also watch YouTube and stuff. So you can watch our videos on there.
That's exactly it,
at the same time, which is very exciting.
Yeah, so when I go into that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you then the straight stitch, but also we have a little play on the screen as well, on that side of it as well. So, and then, going back to then, obviously, the TL machine, you've got the foot control that comes with it. You've also, it comes with the large extension table as well.
Yes.
So I'm not quite sure where that is, so, but it is a nice size table. It really is on there.
It's not to hand at the moment.
Also, it does come with a utility foot. It's also got free motion feet as well that come as standard.
See that little velvet pouch there?
This one? Yeah. Oh yes, indeed, brilliant. So we have got your walking foot.
Yeah.
So again, all industrial fittings, so not plastic at all, very, very solid again to cope with the speed of the machine.
Because this is another consumable, the walking foot.
Well, a walking foot is one of those things where you've got it, and on most domestic machines, obviously, it does make a little bit more noise, it can rattle. But if you've got it permanently fixed on your machine and you use it, nothing's going to happen to it.
Yeah.
But it is a consumable, and the amount of time you say, 9 times out of 10, it's not necessarily this one because it's got the full metal shaft and that on there. Where most of the domestic machines have the plastic shaft on here, it's over tightens. And I think maybe at home you've recognised that if your foot is not sitting straight, obviously you're never going to get a perfect seam on there. But also, once you start tightening it too much over and over again, it just starts spraying it out. So therefore, it becomes wobbly because it's not fixed properly on there as well.
And again, I had that on my old machine, not a Juki.
I have seen it sort of many times on there. Where, and this is why we like to say, everything is built to the quality of the machine. You've got an industrial machine, have industrial attachments, don't have plastic attachments on there. And this is why things like the free motion feet, if we look at those, these are.
Do you want to go close up on that, Gary?
Yeah, we can. On there.
Oh, hang on. There you go.
So if we look at those, again, they are just absolute engineered. They are full solid spring system, but there's apart from a little bit of nylon on top as a dampener, they are absolutely solid. These are high shank industrial fitting attachments on there. You also then get your ring different sizes, so obviously for then your echoing stitching, etc. that way, and you also then get your open toe as well. So it's those little things where these attachments alone, because of how strong they are, these are like £50 attachments each on there. So again, it's not like you've got a really strong, heavy machine and they've chucked a load of cheap attachments with it. It's because that's what they're manufactured. Where obviously our industrial manufacturing makes sure the extra accessories that go with the machine are correct. You also, things like the compensating foot that we get with it on there, we just
Now, you did a whole, if you guys want to know about the compensating foot, Garry did a whole show practically on the compensating foot.
Yeah, on that last time on there.
Yeah.
And these are absolutely brilliant. So you've got different sizing. The one that comes with it is a 6mm compensating foot, and it gives you those perfect seam allowance. So half the foot is sprung loaded. So therefore it will then pressure both the fold and the layer together. So it will stitch it in more of a straight line instead of trying to feed it off left or right. And then you've also then got your seam allowance on the front as well. So the compensating foot as standard, and then you also then get your variable zip foot, which again can also be used for piping, etc. that way as well. So that's all standard attachments with the machine. So you also get your knee lifter. So for the foot up and down, so that comes as standards, which then just goes into the front of the machine,
In the middle.
along there somewhere. There we go. So that's then all built into it. So as a package, absolutely brilliant. But what we're going to quickly do, and this is more for the people who are thinking of investing into one, but also those people who have got one at home already. So at the moment, the needle down, we have got needle up, needle down on here. We have got our thread trimmer button. We have got our reverse, and we also have our drop feed on there. This is our stitch length. As you, it always reminds me, it's a bit like certain amps that go up to number 11.
Yes.
Most machines will go up to number 5. Ours goes up to number 6. It takes it that one step further on there. Again, absolutely brilliant when you're using real heavyweight fabrics, etc. That it's a really great travel. But having a 6mm, I can then adjust the tensions and play. Gathering is fantastic on it. So because of that extra long stitch length as well.
I get so used to using this. I often switch back to my 65-year-old singer to make sure that the patterns that I'm producing are able to be done on an average sewing machine as well. Because I get so used to this just ploughing through everything. It's good to just remind myself the capabilities of other people.
That's it, that it is going to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
But also it's nice when you do something different, it makes you feel, actually, I know where I've got this thing.
I know I've got a goodie. I've got a goodie.
Absolutely on there. So.
Right, so we have now looked at the G series, the DX series, and now the TL series.
Yeah, on there as well. So again, it's sort of all for those different markets. But as we know, say once you get into the Juki fold, the Juki family on there, it's very often then you have your one sewing machine and you think, actually, an overlocker would be good, or you try the straight stitch machine and before you know it, you've got sort of 3 machines set up. But again, each machine does a perfect job on what it's designed for on there. And we know we might have a machine that we want to take to class, a machine that we've got obviously large set up in a cabinet or a table that we don't want to keep removing on there. Or this is also the #1 selling machine in both the US and the UK to go on a quilting frame.
Yeah.
So at the moment out there, we know there's lots of quilting frames out there. And yes, don't get me wrong, your domestic machines and you think, okay, 12-inch arm on a quilting frame. But the problem is once you start putting these on platforms and they start hopping and moving around, they are going to be more fragile. Yes, you've got more moving parts in there. So, and also it's the construction of the frame. I mean, even though how solid it is, if you're on a platform that bounces, it's never ever going to do the machine any good. And it doesn't matter what maker sewing machine you've got as well. You need weight, stability, but also because it is then just that high performance straight stitch, it glides, absolutely glides on there. So this is when we first did these come in. I did festival quilts basically with this one machine.
Yeah.
I rocked up, had this. We were dealing, at the time, we were working together with English Quilting Company and things like that. There was obviously lots out. And it just changed. People like, because they were putting up with their either shorter arm or they were putting big embroidery machines on there and they were just ruining them because there's just vibration, movement. It just doesn't do them any good whatsoever. Where this just didn't hop, it didn't bounce, it just glided. So not just for your tabletop, but if you've got a long arm quilter as well and you just feel your machine is not performing right or you feel you could be damaging it, then it's obviously a fantastic investment for that as well.
Michelle, sad times for Michelle. You know, I said we've only got 2 and when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
They went to other people.
Ooh.
So she made her mind up and they'd
Already gone.
gone.
And they say, and we are genuine, I'll say, I can't even just pull one out the bag for you because this is our stock.
You know, the only thing that I can think, Garry, is, you know, we spoke earlier when I said I was consolidating my machines.
Yes.
I do have Yeah.
You've got, QV.
I've got the QV. I don't know what price that would come in at. No, it hasn't been out. It hasn't been out of the box because I had my NX7.
So last time they were $17.95.
Yeah.
And obviously we can't get them at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Michelle, what your budget was, but I do have one of those, and I've been umming and ahhing whether or not to let it go.
And
But
again,
like I say, now that I'm not based solely in Cornwall,
yeah, because you don't
prep
need
down
them
there,
set up in two places
yeah.
on there, and they say with the toys you've got,
Yeah, you know,
it's great. Also,
6 sewing machines is a little excessive.
have a think about
for
it.
one person. But that's the only thing I can think of.
No,
Michelle,
it's
so
not.
just
There'll be a lot
let
of people
me
shaking
know.
their head at that one. Of course, it's not.
Yeah,
No.
no.
But if you do decide, and again on there, obviously we would still back it up.
Yeah.
We would still service it. So you're still obviously buying it through Juki
Yeah,
as well.
it hasn't been out of the box, so it still has that. I mean, you very kindly said you'd still honour the 2-year warranty.
Absolutely,
on
we will look
so
after
Michelle,
that completely.
Look, that's the only thing that I can think. Like I say, it's only the one that I have, and it does come at a higher price point. If that takes it out of the equation for you, then so be it. But that's the only thing that I can do. Otherwise, what we have is what we have, and you will be looking then at the G.
The 220's got the thread trimmer, yeah.
Yeah.
But as we said, this is used to that, the needle threaders and things like that. But
Yeah.
I will repeat what I said earlier with the feet fitting the DX. Obviously, your feet will fit the G series as well. So because the G series and the DX have the same attachment fitting. So so that will be converted on both, no problem. So, right, let's just pop these bits in there.
Bridget says she's does the DX3 have the? Oh no, we've covered that one. Claire said, got to go. Been great info. Love my DX7. Thanks, Gary and the NM team.
Anytime.
Absolutely fine. I know that a lot of you will watch these back because, goodness, we have already gone nearly 2 hours, Gary.
Every 2 hours.
I know. So
It always just flies. It's always good fun though, isn't it? It just flies.
I know. We should probably look at the UX and then look at the overlockers.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the overlockers. This is it on there. So, because I know a lot of people have just been asking about with the UX again, just some of the features extra this has got.
Yes.
Obviously, the NX series on there. The NX come out before the UX.
Yes.
The NX has the industrial screen.
Yes.
So the programming on there. The machine itself, performance-wise, performance level, everything that it's got, the amount of stitches built into it is no difference at all.
Gemma had our old NX.
Yes.
Yeah.
On there.
So when we upgraded to the UX, Gemma had the NX.
And so that performance level. You're not getting an inferior machine. It was never discontinued. It was never obsolete whatsoever there. And myself, because the screen on there, I'm so used to using that screen, I find it very easy.
Yeah.
But it is smaller, a little bit more fiddly on there, and we were finding some people it was just too fiddly for them. It was sort of happy. So, not just coming out with the machine with a bigger screen on there. So it's quite cold in it. Warm my fingers up a little bit on there. There we go. A little bit of warm up on
I
there.
will just send a little message and ask for heating to be reignited again.
That's all right, no problems
There are other
there.
people in the household who do not feel the cold, and went, that's all right. Once the kids have gone to school, all the heating goes off.
So again, with something like that. So as we can see now with the screen on there, it will give you a lot more information, a lot clearer, and therefore we can program it easier. And once we've got it programmed, we are seeing it more direct. Again, it's hard to explain unless you've seen the NX. This screen is basically 4 or 5 times bigger. So, but it's got less information on it, if that makes sense, where the NX has to have most of its information all on the one screen, because this has a more of a multi-screen function on there. It's bigger, it's in colour, and it gives you only the information you need on the specific stitching that you're doing at that time, rather than all the information that you might not be using, if that sort of makes sense that way there.
I kind of feel like the bit in the middle stitches in real time as well.
Exactly.
Which I really love.
So if you look at the graphics on there, and again, once we start playing around with the stitch width, so I'm moving the needle position across, the stitch length, again, you can see the graphics will change on screen. So it is more of a visual thing on the UX over the NX. Also, as we go into the machine as well, I can scan across. I don't know if we have got it linked up specifically in here. No, we haven't.
No, because we changed the Wi-Fi.
I know,
last
literally,
week.
I know we're just changing buildings and everything.
Yeah,
the Wi-Fi
and
at the moment.
Jane
so.
has been on holiday since we changed all the internet over.
That's just dreadful.
So
yeah. Who said you could have a holiday? That wasn't.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the reason you're here.
Well, thank you. I'm Jane's replacement, but I don't know nothing about internet, so I can't help on that one. So, but if that was connected up, it would come up with channels. It would have 4 channels on here, so you can then watch YouTube. You've actually got the instruction manual in video form built into the machine as well. That is just one of those quick reference. We were saying before about instruction manuals having what they got built into. The G series and the DX, when you choose a stitch, it will come up on screen and it will then suggest what foot to use. It will select your width for you, it will select your length for you.
So you can't go wrong.
Sorry? You can't go wrong. Absolutely
Love it.
not. Don't get me wrong, everything's overridable still. And then once you override it, then as soon as you come out of that stitch and go back into it, it will just forget what you've done and it will just preset itself back again. So it's more that peace of mind playing. Because a lot of people, they feel, well, they don't want to play and fiddle, because if they did that, they might not be able to get it back again. Well, that's generally the case on some machines, but I would say, again, not the Juki performance-wise, but it doesn't matter how much you played around with it, as soon as you change it, it just sets itself back again. So hopefully it will encourage you to play, which will be really, really good. But going into the screen on here, we can then obviously play a little bit more on the machine, and also then we have saving buttons. So if I go into the top menu on here, I just take that as, so I go into history, it now gives me my last 10 stitches automatically on there. But if I select a stitch, it will then select that stitch in the same way with the same settings, i.e. if I had it with the automatic foot up, if I had it with the thread trimmer, then the pivoting facility on there as well.
Should we swing that round so we can see it, Gary? We must be able to get a better shot of this.
In a close-up shot there. So,
even if that goes back a little bit diagonally on the table. There you go.
There we go. That's brilliant. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. So
There's your price list behind. This
is it. Well, the problem is it keeps kind of just crossing off, and none of those left. That's gone.
No, I know.
It's like, yeah. So as we can see on the screen, it is very, very clear on there. It doesn't give you any information that you don't need to know on there. And you have then got all your overridable controls. But as I was saying, I pressed the history button. Obviously, a lot of straight stitching done on this machine, so which you've got. So whatever I go into on there, again, this particular stitch is set with 2.4 stitch length. It's set with a thread trimmer on, and it's also set with the foot lift on as well. So that is absolutely setting for that particular stitch, and obviously the needle position has been moved across on here as well. So I believe that 0.3, as we said earlier, is our 1/4 of an inch stitch with our foot. So obviously it was very, very popular on this machine, which is great that way. So having that facility, obviously then going into the different stitches on here, I can then just press the button, the machine itself will then, I can just scan through exactly what's in particular sections on here. So this is then my practical section. If I go into the buttonholes, again, it will allow me to scan through the buttonholes. So it really is very, very simple to follow on there. So, and then direct patterning, underneath every stitch has a number to it. So if I just sort of, instead of going through screens after screen, I can then just go in and say, right, if I want number stitch 671, using the 3 dials when I'm on the stitch pattern, I can then just dial in 6, 7, 1, there's my stitch, and there it is set. So again, very, very simple to process through all the different sections and for all the different stitches. You can just go direct stitch number, or if you want to play around with it, again, you can go into the different sections to play with the different patterns on there as well. So That is the nice thing about having the larger screen. We did find when the NX came out, people did find that a little bit too fiddly. Again, some of us with our fingers, we can't deal with like little fiddly little bits and pieces like that. Obviously, also eyesight as well. Having something bigger in colour, visual there is easier to see than a smaller industrial screen.
That Wi-Fi capability, you can fix it up to your Wi-Fi, and you can watch YouTube. You can watch anything else that you want. That's on the internet.
It's one of those things which are sort of gone up there. So, for instance, if I've not put an invisible zip in for a long time, bang, 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 YouTube, insert invisible zip, and it will then straight away come up with a video how to insert an invisible zip or something like that.
If you're a visual learner, that is invaluable.
Absolutely, and to be fair, I think most of us are. I think
if you do this sort of thing,
9 times out of 10, when I say, "Oh, you picked the instruction manual," no, I haven't. And to be fair, I've not. I like to play. I'm a player rather than a reader. Do
you know, I have. Whilst I say that I don't get a look in with this machine, I have done create and craft shows with this machine on days where you were not available.
This is it. We've had them there.
And so I have read through the instruction manual on it, and it blows my mind the things that it can do. It's a fabulous machine. This will be the machine that when I am not tearing around, when I actually have time to sit and sew for pleasure.
So you actually get some play time.
This will be the machine that I take on when I'm sewing for pleasure and not quickly for shows.
Well, just say when you obviously within business, time is money and all that sort of thing, but also time is very short as well. So we do eventually get some play time. Then it's sort of having I'm going to call it a toy because yes, it's a serious workhorse, but also it can be a good toy as well.
It can be fun too.
We love our toys to play with, don't we? Absolutely on there. So which is brilliant. But then on the other side of it, you said this like the serious side, and it's one thing unique to this machine is turning it into a high-speed walking foot straight stitch machine, because there's a lot of machines out there when you change, and to be fair, the DX series is the same, where you've got a little switch and obviously it moves in from zigzag to straight stitch on there. Difference is you are still then using the same feed system, etc. that way, but on the NX and the UX we have got the built-in walking foot system. So if you had the normal feed system with the walking foot, yes, it does a certain job and it is good, as we all know, when you put an attachment on your machine, but it can still not necessarily be precise. It's because not everything's sort of marrying up together, or it then sometimes limits you because a walking foot is a walking foot sole, and it's either then a zigzag sole, open toe sole, etc. But you can't then use it, which you would really want to, your patchwork, quarter inch, inserting zips. Why not be able to use a walking foot with that? Because that's when you really need it as well.
I'm also going to be really honest. I'm poor again. And it sounds so ridiculous because it is only a minute to take off and switch feet around. But I often, in my head, tell myself I don't have the time to do it, so I don't. Whereas when I had the NX, because Jane let me use that one.
Actually, let you use your old machine.
When I had the NX, and the fact that you can just pull down an attachment at the back, click it onto the back of your foot, and suddenly you've got a walking foot style. That's it, That's just phenomenal for me, phenomenal.
Again, because it's actually built into the machine, and obviously something you should say, an attachment, even how good they are never ever precise.
No, because they're added on.
They're an add-on attachment, and they also, the way they work off the needle bar clamp, there's movement within the needle bar clamp, so we are talking couple of millimetres, so things like that. So even though yes they are really good, they can never ever be absolutely precise because it's the nature of the beast. Where obviously being the attachments, which is just a lever from here, we can see that on there, I just bring it down, click it in, and because it's mechanically attached to the feed system, both top and bottom feeds are then perfectly moving together. So because it's integrated in there. But what we're going to do is that unique feature on here. I'm going to drop the foot off. So just take the foot off on there. So if we see on screen here as well, when we changed the angle on that one. So if I just move that across so I can get the needle plate in there as well, is that okay there? That's it. So to change the needle plate, just your tool, your screwdriver which comes with it, just sits into the front of the plate there. I'm just going to I'm going to be in front of the screen I think, but when I push that up, as you can see, the machine itself changed straight away. So it automatically locks itself.
It knows.
So you can't
yeah.
accidentally put the foot control, you can't press a button, so therefore you're not going to damage yourself or the machine by that. So I'm taking that off, and that is then the whole needle plate. That just comes off like so. But one of the unique features on here now is the feed. So the feed dog built into the machine again, which every machine has. This one just pops up. So I can literally just unclip it and lift it up like so. So you have what they call a 7-point multi-feed on here. Then if you look at the needle plate on there, so as we can see, it's got a 7-point, so it's quite wide. Obviously, it's allowing a 7mm zigzag on there, and then you've got the multi-points for the teeth. So everything's lined up absolutely brilliant for your creative sewing, for all your zigzag, etc. that way. But obviously, with most of our sewing, it's just straight stitch. And if you was using a straight stitch foot on your zigzag or your wider plate, it would naturally want to pull it off left or right, is because obviously the outside feeds are gripping the fabric, but it's not pressurising with the foot. So it's going to treat it very differently on there. So where obviously those three are lined up to be working together, putting that to one side, now with the new needle plate, as we can see now, it's 3 holes. So longer travelling hole on here, and also then it's a lot more narrow, and there's also the single dot for your needle plate for your straight stitch. But if we also now look at the feed system, the feed then lines up perfectly. It's a narrow feed system on that, so everything now will line up together. And if I get now one of the feet, i.e. the straight stitch foot,
just bring it a bit towards you again.
A bit on there, so we can put the feed, the foot, and that together. As you can see, oh, there we go. It is all now perfectly in line. So there is no extra wide gap which will then force the fabric off left or right. It will give you a perfect pressure which will then travel it a lot more even. So instead of doing half the job, i.e. just switching the needle plate across, this is the only and first machine to have the interchangeable feed, the interchangeable needle plate,
click in.
And it all just clicks in again, no screwdrivers around like that. And then putting it in with the straight stitch foot, have we noticed then at the back of the straight stitch foot?
Oh, hang on, are we going close up?
Indeed, on there. See that little slot taken out the back?
Yeah.
Obviously that's for the walking foot.
Brilliant.
So if I just then pop that into place, it's now told me what I've done. It's going to erase the last pattern because it was a zigzag pattern I had on there. Yes, I'm happy with that, the presser foot. It's now 001 has now appeared. A circle has now appeared on the screen as well. It means it's only going to allow me to use straight stitch stitches. But if I press the stitch number, it will now only come up with a list of what it will allow you to do.
Brilliant.
So if you try and do anything else, it won't do that.
No.
So again, full safety feature. But now if I go, I'll just pop this all into place. So I'm going to click the foot in, so that it's easy to pick up. Walking foot down. So now we have turned it into a perfect straight stitch walking foot machine. And as we say, with most of our sewing, it is done with just straight stitch. So, and now
so
once
to have that functionality, you've kind of got two machines in one, but in a safe way that's not going to wreck your machine.
That's it. And also not have to worry about have I fitted it correctly, because if you haven't, the machine's going to let you know. And it will not work at all. So just going to drop in bobbin. So with the threading of the machine, excuse me, again, whether you've got the NX, the UX, the DX, they all basically thread the same way. So there's no difference in the sewing system. So number 1, number 2, number 3, little thread trim, and it just cuts off. And that's the bobbin now held. And then the actual threading of the machine. Again, we just pop that in.
I'm just wondering if we're just outside of the overhead as well. If we can come in a little bit, then we can go overhead.
Right. So
let me switch it across and you can see. There you go.
In there. Brilliant on that. So it's again a little bit of advice, and it's something I come across quite very regular.
Gemma's thing, yeah.
Spool caps.
Oh.
And the big spool cap, this is then what actually comes on the machine. And because it's on the machine, people just generally leave it on the machine.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what reel they're using, they end up using the large spool cap.
Yeah.
So if you look at, say, the end of the spool cap to the end of the reel, obviously you notice the spool cap this size is like 3 times bigger.
It's a bit overkill.
And it's a bit overkill. Well, the main reason, when I put that together, like so, obviously that's how it was sit on your machine, when your thread reels off, the first thing it's doing is changing direction. The thread is going that way. And what you don't want it to do is you want it to roll off the edge of your reel. So if it's got to change direction once and change direction twice, that's when sometimes you sew, this hops and bounces around, or if it breaks thread, it's because the thread is then going to be tensioned at this point. So, rule of thumb, always match the end of your reel to your spool cap.
There you go.
Like so. So again, what you want is your thread to reel straight off, not change direction and then go through. So
it can cause so many problems. It did for Gemma. Yeah.
It's going to get one of those very, very common faults.
Pat would like to know very quickly, the function that you just showed us with the foot plate, is that the same for the NX7?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same, yes. Yeah. And Bridget said, just checking again with Garry, did you say apart from the free embroidery foot and obviously the walking foot, the other feet I have for my NX7 will fit my DX3?
Yes, they will. Yep, completely interchangeable, so no problem there at all.
Very exciting.
So that's a nice thing. Again, by going to the extreme of a sewing system as what we want to go to, this is where having the sort of top of the range, mid-range, beginning range, then because the sewing system, you're getting that quality of sewing system. That's why the feet are the same, the bobbins are the same, because that's the best we come up with. And we're not going to make it inferior for a smaller machine, because that's not what people know Juki for.
And so you know that you can use them with confidence in between your machines. Sue said though, is there a way of fitting a compensating foot to other brands of sewing machine, Janome in particular?
Yes, there is, but depending, again, a lot of people sort of say, even with the same manufacturer, you obviously mentioned the Janome name, Janome themselves produce different size shanks. So you've got high shank, they've got low shank. So again, yes, they are, but you would need to know the actual model to which then foot we would supply.
Okay, for the compensating foot.
And for the compensating feet, and any screw-on feet, again, the ankle is the height, which will then change whether it's then a ruler foot, compensating foot, etc. that way.
Perfect.
So, no problem. So we've threaded the machine up. So needle threader now just comes down, it's lined up, in, job done. So one step needle threader, and then...
Which is a joy.
Absolutely brilliant. So pop that up there. So now when we've got the walking foot is obviously in situ on there, the main thing, what we can do now, let's say for a sewing show, we're actually going to get to do some sewing. Hey! Why not? Well, it is just one of those very sort of quick, again, simple, just doesn't matter what I put under it. So this is upholstery vinyl, very strong, obviously big for bag makers, soft furnishers, etc. that way. But obviously...
Do you know the thing I get asked to do most from people?
What's
Which is so weird, is can I re-upholster their boats?
Boats. I thought you were going to say camper van, actually.
No,
Yeah,
boats.
but boats, yes, yeah, we do.
I'm by the water, don't I?
Yeah,
So it's boats.
The nice thing about it, if they own a boat, then they're willing to pay for some nice fabrics.
Yeah, right.
So, absolutely on that. But I think obviously just with Cornwall, I obviously love the beach and thinking my surfboard's on top. The amount of times now where people are going to be storing a camper van, etc. So they want, right, okay, let's re-upholster it for next time. So we're doing a lot of business with camper vans at the moment.
Yeah,
so
no,
that's what made me
believe.
think. But with boat interiors, anything like that, absolutely. So, and it's the sort of thing where a lot of people try and struggle with their domestic machines, even with just doing a hem. So that's just 3 layers of denim on there. I'm saying just 3 layers because for my machine, it's no strain, no struggle. What I'm going to do, we've said it automatically comes up on straight stitch centre needle position, but as I say, the thicker the fabric I go, I'm going to go up to 3.4 on the stitch length control on there. So just on there, just turn the dial, and then with that I'm not going to touch anything else at all. We're just going to pop that under, and you say we've got the walking foot built onto it as well, and then grab the foot control. And then we are just so. Obviously we're just going to keep the fold together like so, but just let the machine take it through. Again, it doesn't bang, it doesn't strain. I'm not going to push it, I'm not going to help it, I'm just keeping the fold there.
Sue lives in Cornwall as well. She says, OMG, yes, word has got around that I have a walking industrial machine and I'm being approached regularly to repair boats, sails, canvases, leather seats. What I have to do this afternoon, one of my jobs to do this afternoon is actually to repair a horse rug.
Oh,
and I did not do it before you came in because I know you were
no,
allergic.
thank you very much.
Absolutely fine. But yes, Mr. Chester has wrecked his
This is the horse rug, indeed. So as they do with them. So
big, playful ex-race horse. He's fun. Yay!
brilliant. So, but thank you for the thought there. So,
No, that's absolute pleasure. Yep.
so, but as you can see
Let's
on
go
there, I
through
don't
it.
know if the
Hang on, let's go overhead for you there.
overhead on there. Again, you sort of lift that colour. It's, well, again, to be fair, this also you can't see the stitch, but a good quality stitch you shouldn't be able to see.
No, that's the thing,
that is the
isn't
good thing about it. And
We
obviously,
can go close up if you want, Garry.
yeah, we go. So again, you can go as close as you want on there because again,
Just
sort of that absolutely, well, again, you can just see, it's not necessarily about the stitch you can see, but you can see it's not marked the fabric at all, it's not twisted the fabric at all, it just feeds through absolutely perfect on there. And then what we have also then got is then from that, I am just going to pick up another piece of fabric. So again, if we're doing 1 minute we're doing soft furnishing, or we say upholstering a boat. Next minute we're making something out of bridal fabric, so like acetate satin. So slippery, moves, slides all over the place, completely different contrast of fabric on there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the stitch length back down to 2.4, which is sort of its standard stitch length, but I'm not going to touch anything else at all. I'm just going to pop that under, and then we will just sew that. Again, literally from just one to the other. And this is another thing about when, obviously at the top of the show, we started talking about budget machines.
Yes.
And things like that. And this is where a budget machine, you just couldn't. You'd have to play, you have to fiddle. And a lot of people, they come to me and they say, well, I'm a new sewer, can I justify going to then a higher grade machine? Well, my answer generally to that, if you're a new sewer, the more of a quality machine you can go to, the better it's going to help you out. As an advanced sewer, don't get me wrong, if you're an advanced sewer, then there's more likely that you are going to know how to adjust, how to play with your tensions, how to fiddle with your foot pressure and things like that. So technically a cheaper budget machine to an advanced sewer could probably get away with it. But if you are an advanced sewer, then you don't want a budget machine anyway. So
Do you know what? I
it
have
takes
this
you away from
conversation,
that.
with people about fabrics as well, and they're like, well, no, I'm just learning, so I'm just going to buy cheap fabrics from Lidl or Aldi or wherever. You know,
Yeah.
you go, okay, fair enough. But that's going to move. That's going to shift around. It's not so tightly woven. It's not going to be such a nice sewing experience. And so, you know, there's a time and a place for all of those. Of course there is. But actually, if I were using any of those fabrics, I would end up interfacing them with a light interfacing so they didn't shift. And therefore you negate the extra price.
Well, and also you're adding more work to what you're doing as well. And that is the thing there.
Yeah.
But it's also then, as a beginner, you could take twice as long doing something. You spent all that time and effort putting into making something, then make it out of something that you're going to be happy with, you're going to appreciate, rather than thinking, okay, don't like that, I've made it, but it's the fabric.
Being unhappy with it.
Yeah, if you're going to do something like that, then if you're not sure, you're for a beginner, make a twirl or something like that.
Yeah.
Use calico, use something like that. And if you want a cheap fabric, then that's what we'd recommend. So, but then if I just sort of show you from one to the other, and then it's just that sort of performance level on there, you can just see the difference is nothing.
There it is.
And that's what you want it to see. So, and this is another thing about then that performance level where we're saying they haven't messed around with trying to make it do too many other things. So the sewing system in here, and it's the same as the G series, it's the same as the TL, it's the same as that. the great thing about it, even though it's assisted, it's still mechanical. So what the problem is with some machines, and it's like a lot of technology now, they're just putting technology in the wrong places to try and make us, oh, we're more advanced than what you are. The problem is, once you start putting electronics, and I think people are maybe listening at this or watching as they at home, and they've sat there on the machine and the foot pressure's gone, it's trying to judge itself, the tension's all over the place and that because it's trying to gauge itself. It's because they've made it all computerised. I have, from the beginning, and I will stand by this, there is no such thing as automatic tensions. Our machines have automatic tensions right on the dial, auto. There is no such thing. There is no machine can gauge what thread you're using. So using a balancing of threads will give you a balanced stitch. Using unbalanced threads, then generally you would have to adjust the tensions.
Yeah.
So, but that's only you're going to start doing things like creative sewing and things like that. Usually, like if you're using a bobbin thread, which is in a lot finer or heavier thread on that. And a lot of people, when they start looking at tension systems, they automatically think it's to do with the type of fabric you're using. It's not, because your fabric doesn't run for the tension. It's the thread that runs for the tension.
Yes, when you say it, it's so obvious.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So if you've got even tension, it doesn't matter if I'm using a 60 thickness thread, which I've got on there at the moment. I can put it a 50 thickness thread. I've put a 40 thickness thread on there. If I'm using the same thread top and bottom, a good tension should lay even whether I'm sewing through thick fabric, thin fabric. And that's the sign of a good machine or a bad machine where you've then got to play and fiddle with the tensions, is because it's not the fabric you're using, it's the balance of the stitch that is wrong on there. So that is another thing. Again, you don't want a budget machine where you've got to sit and fiddle with tensions. And as a new sewer, you won't know what to do.
Anyway.
As an advanced sewer, you generally know what you're doing. But as a new sewer, again, another reason not to have a budget machine.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely. Another question from she said, which width foot will I get the most use out of, do you think? Probably mainly use it to stop top stitch around bags. This is the compensating foot that she wants to buy.
And then that's a question I can't answer.
Right.
The reason I can't answer it, because I sell 50-50 off both whips. And to be fair, 9 times out of 10 people end up buying both of them.
Right,
Is because
okay.
it's a visual. And a visual is a personal thing.
Okay.
So if you want 2.5 mil, if you're then there, mainly used for sort of maybe like heavier bag making on that. But sometimes if you're using then a nice cotton where you want it to look a bit finer, then the 1.5 mil gives you a really just nice fine edge on there as well. So without being a sales thing like that,
for courses,
both is probably best
Yeah, okay, that's fair
on there. So yeah, so that is sort of what the UX and the NX is just really known for, is that converting into a high-speed straight stitch machine.
Yeah.
Again, that is what Juki have added to it, rather than all singing and all dancing. On there. That's
really
let's say
useful.
you've got a lot there to play with, but the main thing is certainly when you go into this level of machine, if
This
you're going to
is a
invest
machine
this,
for life.
that's
So
right.
you're not going to need another one, and this is what I was trying to impress on
But
my
also,
friend the
people
other
who buy
day.
these machines are not a every now and then sewer.
No.
They want to use their machines
They want to, and
on
it's
there.
perfect for quilting and for dressmaking. So whichever side you decide to go on, and whether you are a hybrid
That's
sewer,
exactly it,
then
yeah.
it's absolutely perfect, and you can switch between the two with ease.
And
let's look at some overlockers, Gary.
So
'cause
what I'm going to
very
do,
aware
first of
time.
all, I am
Go
just
on.
going to one stitch that I'm proud of, and it's sort of going back to about the bag making and
Go on then.
the top stitching
Yes.
effect, is a stitch this has on it, which
You know, that's what I love about Juki. You are proud of this stitch.
right.
but it is, isn't it? Because you've had that input into it as well. Which
Exactly.
is just great.
Well, it's also, to be fair, because it's other machines have got this stitch, but you just can't play around with it. So I'm leaving the straight stitch on, but I've taken the walking foot off.
Okay.
So again, it's one of those little help at home walking feet, whether it's built into your machine or whether it's an attachment.
Yeah.
You should not be using supermatic stitches with a walking foot. And what I basically mean by a supermatic stitch,
supermatic stitch?
exactly it, what is
You've
a
just used a really big
supermatic?
word there, Gary. What is
Some
it?
people call them stretch stitching, but
Right.
basically it's when the stitch moves forwards and back, forwards, back. It's like a triple stitch. So it's stitching over it several times. So a stretch stitch, an overlock stitch, anything like that.
Stitch.
Triple stitch or supermatic stitch.
But I use the triple stitch a lot.
That's right. And basically with these, it won't allow you, because a walking foot is designed to move forwards.
Right.
Not designed to go backwards.
Okay.
And a supermatic stitch will feed forwards and back.
Right.
So this is where we don't recommend. And with the UX and the NX, if I try and do it, again, it will tell me to remove the walking foot.
Yeah.
So on there. But the idea is with this is it's a great top stitch effect. So even though most machines have got this particular stitch, you can't do anything with it. What I'm going to do is elongate it up. I'm going to take it up to 5 mil so it stands well out on camera.
Which stitch is this that we're doing? Let's have a
So
little
this
look.
is the reinforced triple stitch. So basically,
We
most
just
people know
have
this as
little
a stretch
look to
stitch,
one side.
and it is only straight. So I'm in the way there,
Yeah,
but
if
on
we
there because
move
it
it
looks like
towards
it's just a
you.
straight stitch
Yeah,
on
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But what I'm going to do, if I just show you once it's finished, because it's actual the look of the stitch. But if you notice the fabric, if we can,
I'm going to go overhead so you can see the fabric.
and it will then go for what I was saying about, if you notice it's moving forwards and back.
Oh, it's actually a good shot for that.
That's a
isn't it?
very
Yeah.
good shot, because it's showing you exactly that forwards and back movement on there, and that's exactly why you shouldn't use a walking foot with a supermatic stitch on there. So fortunate the NX and the UX will tell you that automatically,
So no, computer
but obviously
says no.
if you've added a walking foot on, then it won't know that. But as I say, most machines won't travel it this far, is because if I take that out now and let you have a look at that.
There you go, bring it towards you.
So
There you go.
on there. So if we can see here, which is our normal straight stitch, and if we can see, well, straight away you can't really see the straight stitch, but you can see the stitch next to it,
Yeah.
which is our triple stitch. But I don't know if we can get an even closer look at this one. I don't know if we can too well on that.
You'd have to go. You'd have to take. It
This is how I'm
closer,
going to
up,
lose
Yeah,
the
no.
angle
There.
Let's get the light. Yeah, about there. So we can see it's like it's a 5 mil, so it looks like a real upholstery heavy duty stitch on there. I think you can just about see it because the stitch next to it you can barely see at all.
Yeah.
And that's the one what most machines will do. But because of this, it's a triple stitch, so it's a lot stronger. But also, it's really nice top stitching effect on that.
In fact, we spoke about this stitch yesterday because we were making a denim bag, and we were just stitching down the sides. I said,
Yeah.
if you've got, and it's normally three runs of stitches.
That's
isn't
exactly
it?
it,
And that's the
yeah.
sign for it on your machine. Use that one and use it. And I use it when I reinforce when I go around.
That's
putting
it.
Handles, anything like that.
But the great thing about it, because you're used to doing, you've got Jukis, but you wouldn't know that virtually all other machines, because of the elliptical feed system, will only take that up to about 2.5, 3 mil.
Okay.
You can't elongate it anymore because the feed's not capable. But because of the box feed systems, and it's one of those stitches, I can take this up to a full 5 mil. And that's why it gives you
That's brilliant.
that fantastic
I can
effect
really see
on
that
there.
from here,
So,
and just the difference is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
yeah, so that is just, again, one thing with the box feed. And so it's not just the UX and the NX, it's the DX and the G series all have that capability as well. So
Right.
absolutely brilliant.
Come on then.
Right.
Let's very quickly look at some of these overlockers. Overlockers should have a whole show all to themselves.
Yeah.
My overlocker was my very first Juki machine. I remember ringing you, Gary, when I was on maternity leave, going, right.
Yeah. MO 1000.
It is now. You said to ring you when the time was right, and the time is now.
And it was needed, absolutely. And you say,
And I love it.
it's the sort of thing with overlockers. I've got the two overlockers. I've got the 214 with me, and I've got the 2500. Again, quite extremes really. It's all about the extremes today. So on here and on here. So we've got the Kiri, the 214D. The nice thing about
Hang on,
this,
let's give you prices for this. This today should have been $7.99. It's $6.59.
and the great thing with this, it is a mechanical get on and go. This is like the G series equivalent.
Right.
On there, easy to use, powerful, strong, but nothing extra. I.e., it hasn't got the air whoosh system. It's a manual threading system on there.
Okay.
But again, as we know, the air system, you are paying that bit extra
Yeah,
for it.
you are. And I would pay it every time.
Not everybody obviously needs it, justifiable. There's people who are quite happy threading their overlockers and it's no problem. But what I will, if I open the front of this up, we can see there's hardly anything in there.
Whoa, that's not like...
No, it's not like an old-fashioned
No.
complicated. It's very, very simplified. So to thread them, it's not like you're having to really sort of sit there and got all these little guides to fiddle through. So even though it's not air threading, it's simple threading.
But how...
But you still got your loopers in here, you still got your main moving parts, but they have just narrowed it down to all the little thread guides, it just didn't need it. And again, this is why that Juki level of performance on there, they're not putting anything gimmicky in there to try and make it do this or make it do that.
I probably would have managed. You know, that doesn't look scary to me.
No, in there.
Whereas my very first overlocker, which sent me screaming towards the
well,
wash.
it just says like with Gemma said, she has 2 overlockers.
Yeah.
Or had like one light, one dark because it's threading. Yes.
But that doesn't look anything like what I'm used to.
They have simplified it. It's still the same system because overlockers haven't domestic or even industrial. That system has not changed for 70 years. Basically, it is what it is, and there's no need to redevelop the word on that. But they have made it easier to thread. So inline tension control on there as well. As you can see, sort of the inline dials on the front, or levers on the front on there. Even tension, like all Juki's doing. Leave it even, the tensions will be even. So whether I'm going through heavyweight, lightweight, makes no difference. But I can play with it all day long as well. So for gathering, for roll hem, for anything like that, I can still override everything, knowing I set it all back to even, which is its number 4, and away we go. It's a 2-thread, 3-thread, 4-thread, 2-thread roll hem and 3-thread roll hem as well. DC motor, so again, very powerful. Everything inside, full metal construction inside. So as we can see in here, it's got a full chassis inside there as well. So it is absolutely solid, as we can see on there. So which is really nice. Just pop that out there for a minute. Yeah, so...
Yeah, let's have a little look, because now you can really see.
Actually, you see in there, so that can just opens up like so. If I turn that, as you can see, it is a full metal chassis inside on there as well. But what we're going to do is, I should say, I don't know what time, there's the time in there. I'm going to just obviously thread it up. I'll show you how quick, how easy, but the main difference again with overlockers, it's the performance level, which is key on there. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to run these through. What did I do with the foot control? That's behind us there. So,
do you another coffee, Gary?
I'm all right at the moment, thank you.
Are you sure?
That's all good. Yes, it'll be that cause and effect soon. So,
we have we have got one of these.
Yeah.
No, hang on. Which one's this one?
This is the 214.
Oh, the 214.
We've got 2 of these.
I've got 2 of these, so this should be 799 and it's 659. Sorry, I think I gave you the incorrect one. Oh, that sounds good.
Right, so I'm just going to empty all the thread out.
Okay.
And there. So, right, I'm going to sort of place it with the best angle is probably going to be about there, so I can actually thread it at the same time as well.
Sorry, this is set up for us so that you can see the sewing on the side.
No problem for me. So, overlock thread. Again, it's one of those big questions on there. So I'm going to squash a couple of rumours to start off with, where people turn around and say, overlockers use much more thread. You must be using lots of thread. Well, you're using a little bit more, but you're not using a lot more. Because what people don't necessarily recognise, yes, you're using 4 threads, but if you do a straight stitch seam on your sewing machine, you're using 2 threads, and then you do a zigzag for your edges, you're using 2 threads.
Yes,
so you've used 4 threads.
Yeah.
So you just happen to be using 4 threads at once.
Yeah.
And but you sort of say that, people, Oh yeah, of course you are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but it's not necessarily thought about that
What you've
way.
saved is time.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. But also, because it's combinating the stitching together, it's a lot stronger and a lot more flexible on there as well. So on all overlockers, or most overlockers, you generally get these little plastic bits on here. Anti-rattlers, cone holders, many different names on there. But basically, it means if you are using cones of thread, which have then generally got the bigger base in there, that fills that up to stop it from rattling around, i.e. anti-rattlers.
Yeah.
So on there. But what I've got some Coates Moon thread. Don't get me wrong, if you want to put your Gutterman, you want to put your quality threads through it, and you're spending £10 for 1,000 metres, go for it. It's a very expensive way of doing it, and I personally wouldn't do it. So something like overlocking threads, and this is say the Coates Moon thread, retails £1.30, £1.40 a reel, 1,000 metre reels.
Wow.
Absolutely ideal.
Perfect.
So no difference there. Obviously there are some very nice fancy threads out there which a lot of people have never done before their overlocker. Using fancy threads, put them on your loopers on there. A lot of people now use it as top stitching. So you've got the overlocking, you're virtually like doing it inside out. And again, it just be that creative side of it as well. So rather than hiding the overlocking, that's is it, variegating threads and things like that. So, but usually you would then obviously match into a light, a dark, etc. that way. So what we're going to do, let me just find some tweezers.
There was a pair on the desk. I don't know where they've gone.
Somewhere. There we go. So
two of these machines, and then we have got 3 of the ones with the whoosh.
Yes, indeed, yeah, and that is something a little bit different, and we haven't had that one before here, so it is a bit different on there. So, right, just how easy it is to thread. So, if we look underneath here, we've got colour coding, and it will say blue number 1, red number 2, green number 3, yellow number 4. So we just follow that colour coding. So the blue is the second one in, and then all I do over the guide. Little guide at the back, little spring guide. I just click that in. Literally, you hear the click without thread. Not too hard, you're not then breaking the thread. So that just lays in through the tension, and all I'm doing is then following the blue guides. So it's very simple to follow. Round, through, blue guide, and then just the loop of thread back. So literally 1, 2, 3, 4. Where before, you say years ago, you'd have easy more of those than that you're filling through.
I used to have to get a YouTube, I had the instruction book in front of me, which made no sense. I used to have to get a YouTube video tutorial up every single time I wanted to change threads on my overlocker. I even tried tying one colour thread onto the next to see if I could get that to go all the way through.
Yeah.
To see if I could, I mean, it was ridiculous. Looking back on it now, utterly ridiculous. This I could manage.
Well, certainly knotting your threads on and pulling it through, you hear a lot of people do that. And yeah, it is a way, but I, again, would never suggest to learn that before you learn how to thread it properly. Yeah. It's a shortcut. And the shortcuts are great, but if something goes wrong and the thread breaks and you don't know how to thread it, then you sort of mess yourself up a little bit on there. So that's your first one. And say, nice and easy, quick, simple that way. And then we just take our next one. So the top guides are the same through the tensions.
Do you have to do this in a certain order?
Yeah, so as we pointed out, it has numbers on here. So blue number 1, red number 2, yellow number 3. Okay. So again, with the whoosh system, obviously we don't have to do that.
No, you can
but
code them
and that is it. But with this system, we have to follow the colour codes around on there. So going back sort of for quality and things like that, where certainly with a sewing machine, people can generally feel, I want a sewing machine, or you don't want a sewing machine. And if you want one, you want one. Overlocker is a little bit different. It's like, do I need one? Why do I need one? And you won't know that until you've got one. Once you've got one,
Gary, why do we need one?
It will save.
What does an overlocker do?
Overlocker time will make life so much happier and easier. And I say that because the finish it gives you is the most professional finish you ever get. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot easier. It's doing 2 jobs in one, or technically 3 jobs in one, because it's cutting, seaming and overlocking at the same time.
The neat finish that you get on it.
And that is it. It is that uniqueness. But
so Gary,
also,
my question is, if when you're dressmaking, you know, when I've done courses and stuff, they've made us do a straight stitch and then overlock afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why can't I just...
Well, if you've done the course and all they've got is 3 thread overlockers in there, then that's why because a 3 thread is not really a strong seam, it's more just for finishing.
Right.
But if it's a 4 thread, and they've also then told you to do a straight stitch, it's probably because they might be an ex-factory worker and they've been used to using 5 thread overlockers.
Right.
And they just feel they need that extra stitch on there.
But
where
theoretically, I should be able to. If I've gone 4 thread,
that's
I
it.
don't need a straight stitch
Absolutely,
on top of that, 'cause
do
it's
not
already
need to
done
do a
it as
separate
well.
stitch, and it will give you that perfect thing because it's got the 2 rows of stitching in it. It's going to be a lot stronger, but also, depending on the fabric you're using on there, if you use any stretch fabric or movement and you do a straight stitch, you've just lost that.
Yeah.
So 4 thread will give you full elasticity. A 5 thread overlocker won't.
Okay.
So
That's good to know because that's just sped up the making of my Christmas pyjamas.
you would literally construct the whole thing on a 4 thread overlocker. It would just do it all for you. Absolutely no problems at all. You don't have to do a separate seams, and it will give you that full elasticity within the stitch, especially if you're using things like fleeces and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect finish on there. So this is then obviously the green one, which is then the right hand needle. So it's just front to back. So as you can see, it's nothing complicated at all. It's got a lot less guides on than what people were used to seeing with overlockers. But the main thing as well, and this is sort of what I was just saying about, you buy a budget overlocker, sorry, I'll rephrase that. You buy a budget sewing machine, it restricts you on necessary fabrics and things you can do with it. It may not be necessarily as easy to use and you've got a lot more to play around with setup, but generally you will get a budget sewing machine to work. And the more advanced you are, the more you can probably get it to work. But a budget overlocker will, and it doesn't matter how good you are, even as an engineer, a budget overlocker will just not be good.
Yeah.
So this is where I would always advise, and this is where you hear so many people got put off overlockers, or if you look what's available second-hand on certain sales points.
Okay, I'm going to give case in point, Gary.
Yeah.
Claire says, I have a Toyota overlocker. When it works, it's brilliant. When it doesn't work, no matter which tensions it's on, and I've probably tried them all, cleaned it too, it tangles at the bottom, and I've not tried it since not being able to get it to work. Case in point.
Yeah, that is the thing, is we're, even as say, as an engineer, with a budget overlocker, I can't stand them because once with the moving parts in, you've got loopers, you've got blades, you've got needles, you've got a lot more moving parts that have to gel together in there. And the problem is, even if you look at a cheap or budget overlocker on the internet, on a piece of paper, you think, why should I spend that much when that does exactly the same thing? And it looks like it threads the same, it works the same, the descriptions are the same. It's basically because of the poor metal it's made out of. Yeah. And that's why they will just never work well, because everything's moving and you would never get a constant.
I saved so long for my overlock machine, so long. And when I got it, I didn't come off it for months and months and months and months and months. It was just brilliant.
And you say it's an investment,
but
also you're saying about obviously buying the right one. You say you haven't wasted money then by buying the wrong one, then buying the wrong one, move up. You bought the right one, not only just as an investment, but also, as you've just said, you use it so much.
Yeah.
And if you buy the right one, you're going to use it. And
that's
the great thing about it.
Sue says, if I'm being a pain, sorry. You're not, Sue.
No,
Again,
not at all.
when you
Great
ask
questions,
the question, everybody else does. Which overlocking thread does Gary like? I've bought what I thought should have been a top quality mercerised thread, but to me it looks very fluffy and seems to break more than I'd like.
Yeah, well, as I say, the only thing we don't recommend, there's cheap thread and there's overlocker thread. Right. So basically the problem is with cheap thread, Coates Moon do 2 different versions as well.
Right.
They've always kept to one version and then they brought out a cheaper version basically. And even though to look at, it doesn't look a lot of difference. To my eye, I can see you hold a piece of thread up and you can see the quality. You would know that, obviously how straight it sits, how fluffy it is and things like that. An overlock moon thread, it may be a cheaper thread, but it's constant. Right. So it hasn't suddenly got slubs in it and things like that. And then the other version they brought out, which you can buy for about £1 a reel or something, not a lot of difference in there. when you run it through, even a high quality overlocker, and you would say the MO 1000s and things like that, and in industrials, because the thread's not even, it physically can't give you an even stitch.
Yeah.
So there's cheap thread and there's cheap overlock thread.
So
There's a
you
big
would
difference.
recommend the Coates Moon thread?
I've used this for 30 years. It's absolutely brilliant.
Is that polyester or cotton?
Polyester. So on there, don't get me wrong, if you say there are some nice threads out there, some mercerised cottons and things like that, which again, if you buy a good one, they usually are quite nice, which will go through. You're paying for the nose for it, and something you don't need, especially if it's going to be on the inside and you're never going to see it. It's not going to matter so much on there.
Julia, she does make me laugh. She says, I can do things wrong much quicker on my overlocker. When I get it right, it's brilliant.
It's when I first got mine, the thing that I went crazy for, I was doing. I just finished. I made a whole load of my iPad rests.
Yeah.
And I just got them done in record time. 2 pieces of 2 10-inch squares, and then make a handle, and then fill them with beans or buckwheat or whatever. And I made them for all. I just finished my yoga teacher training when I was on my maternity leave, and I gave everyone one of these iPad rests because it just means that your neck is never in the wrong position. You can adjust the screen exactly how you want it to be.
Oh right, okay.
But I did, and then I made loads for my son's school, and I made so many of those. I just practice on something that was so easy and so basic.
Yeah.
But it just meant that I wasn't scared of it at all.
That's exactly, it's doing that repetitive
Yeah.
and knowing the finish you're going to get is there.
And
It
do you
gives
know
you
what?
that confidence
I went through
build.
my scrap bundles.
Yeah.
And where I had 10 inches of fabric, I'd cut them into 10 inches and I just used those. They didn't all match, they didn't all they were patchwork, they were whatever they needed to be. I did entire quilts using my overlocker. Especially baby quilts, something that I knew was going to get.
Brilliant.
Dog beds, stuff like that,
Well,
all with the overlocker.
That's exactly it, where a lot of people just think overlocker is a dressmaking machine. It's not. It's much, much more than that. And the thing is, certainly with patchwork and obviously quilting, everybody's 1/4 inch seam.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, if your seam is 8mm, if your seam is 5mm, whatever, on patchwork, you want it to be consistent.
Yes.
An overlocker is perfect
It's always going to be
consistency.
consistent, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sewing machine, you can woggle, you can
Yeah.
move and things like that. An overlocker, that seam allowance does not change because it is a set seam allowance on there.
Well, I mean, if you want to hold that up, Garry, and show us what you've
So,
just been sewing.
obviously, I've literally just threaded it, literally out there, and from one to the other. So this is just your calico, again, nice simple fabric on there. This is crystal organza, completely see-through, completely different contrast of fabric. This is your 2-way stretch nylon lycra.
Yeah.
So as you heard as we were talking through using it as well, it's smooth, it's quiet,
It's
it
really
doesn't
smooth.
rattle. Again, that build quality is there. But if we then look at each fabric individually, so I just move that one back again. So this is your nylon lycra. As you can see, the stitch is absolutely perfect on the edge, full elasticity on there. But obviously the key thing, if I now open the inside, is your seam. So again, give it a stretch. So, and that's a bright yellow thread I've used on there, and obviously I can't see that on TV. So again, that's very, very strong stitch. So I do that and say from the crystal organza, obviously the stitch perfectly balanced, obviously on the edge. Obviously you saw I didn't touch from going one to the other, no problems. But again, the key thing is the inside seam. And on there, you can see there is not a single bit of pulling or puckering on the actual seam itself. So again, absolutely brilliant that way. And again, you say your calico. So this is what an overlocker should be doing for you. It doesn't matter what I'm picking up. I haven't got a fiddle. I haven't got a play. The machine itself is a pleasure to use. It's quiet. It's smooth. It's a very, very strong stitch. You say, that for a seam, you just say it doesn't matter what you're doing, that is perfectly adequate. And then even if I'm going up to using sort of your heavier weights, your thicker, your fleeces. So this is a nice double-sided fleece, so it's quite a thick fleece on there. Literally, just going to double it up, not going to touch anything at all, just going to pop it under, and then from one to the other, straight through. Again, the machine itself, performance-wise. So we look at the stitch on there. So there to me. We'll get there by the end of the show. And then, as you can see, absolutely perfect again. Open it up. Wonderful. And again, that elasticity, that stretch, that movement
Brilliant.
within the stitch, again, you just can't see that.
So, you know when you use a walking foot,
Yeah.
and it feeds it from the top and from the bottom?
That's it, yep.
Are you sort of getting similar
No.
with this, or what sort of system have you got feeding in with this?
Right, so basically a walking foot, you're adding a feed on top of your machine.
Yeah.
An overlocker already has 2 feeds.
Right.
It has a front and back feed.
Yeah.
So all day long, it does that. It just moves it through. Unless we have what we call a differential feed.
Yes.
Which is this dial here.
Oh, hang on.
So this is your stitch length dial, and this is your differential feed. So literally does what it says on the tin. It makes your feed move differently.
Yeah.
So I can time the front and back feeds. I can just do them doing different motions. Why would I want that?
Gathering.
A good example. That's exactly it. So I'm going to turn the differential feed up to number 2. I'm turning the stitch length up to number 4. So going both up to maximum on there. And this time I am going to increase the 2 needle tensions. So again, you would vary this depending on the fabric you're using, the finish, the amount of gather.
Does this have a chart like my one does, which tells you what to do?
That's in the instruction manual.
Yeah, in the
Again,
instruction
it's a
manual.
proper book like yours. It will go step by step and breaks it all down for you.
That's great.
So just by playing around just with those dials now, what I can do is automatic gathering.
Amazing.
So again, it's very simple. And again, I can still play with that around by altering the feed, the differential feed, by altering the stitch length, by altering the tension, different weights of fabric. Obviously, I can get different finishes that way. So basically what it's doing, I'm making the back and front feed move at different times. So I can either get it to push fabric in together, or I can actually get it to elongate. So I'm getting a slight waved or jersey stretch fabric. I can get it so it's perfectly flat again. So
that is very clever, and you've just reminded me. Can you see down in the corner there's a pink thing that's got dogs all over it?
yes, indeed, yeah.
So that is waiting for me to stitch around the inside. Again, that's actually Mabel's new bean bag.
Right.
Which we made on the show the other day. And I've done 1 round of stitching, but because it's Mabel's and she runs at her dog bed, I don't know if you spot her do it, she then just launches herself.
Dives into it, yeah.
Straight into it. So I will go round, I'll take that down to Cornwall with me at the weekend, and I will overlock the inside of that, then fill it with beans. The beans are still in my bath.
So, right.
I've had to shower because the beans
you got your
are
own little snow globe thing going on there, haven't you? Just sit in there and just play with it. That'd be great.
But that's what will happen. So they will go, they'll do that. And again, if I make the calico insert, if I decide to make a calico insert, then that would just all be overlocked just from the beginning.
Your sewing machine wouldn't, unless you've got a zip in it. Your sewing machine, unless you learn to put zips in with an overlocker, which you can do as well.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Then an overlocker basically would do everything. You wouldn't touch that on the sewing machine.
The thing is, I use a continuous zip.
Yeah.
So and the bottom of that is just, it's cut in half and a zips of it in.
Just
So
stitch over it. Yeah.
You know, I could have put that in.
With the overlocker, would have done that
overlocker.
absolutely fine on
No
there.
bother at all.
On that.
Oh, Claire says, that's what my machine is doing. I don't know why. Do you have a differential feed then, Claire?
That's exactly it. If it could just be gathering it as you're sewing. You've got it switched up. So again, check what model is it? Do we know what?
She's got Toyota.
Do you know? Yeah, again, which model
Toyota.
it is?
I don't think she even wants to look at it.
Right.
She's so cross with it. But
because there's
tell us,
2
Claire.
things. It could be a simpler answer as the differential feed, or it could be that.
She's done it in shouty capitals, so we've touched a nerve there.
Right. Well, the great thing is, with sort of Claire appreciating what an overlocker can do. This is where once you appreciate an overlocker, you can then usually justify think, actually, I need to spend more to get something I'm going to enjoy using.
Yeah.
So again, it is one of those questions, sort of going back to what I was originally saying about buying a budget sewing machine. At least a budget sewing machine will work,
Yes.
but it will restrict you. And a budget overlocker will just put you off overlocking for life.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I say,
And the only reason that I wasn't put off overlocking when I had, I was you know, when I had this first initial machine, was because I'd done my shows with you, and I knew what an overlocker should do.
Well, again, when we sort of, obviously we sit on the shows, and obviously we're certainly doing the first shows as well. I don't know what sort of previous people with what previous machines have got on, but when we rock up, you know, I rock up with a big box of fabric with everything in it, and we're not scared. We're all live, and we say live here, we're live on the TV and that.
Yeah.
And if you're finding that they are scared of doing things, or they're restricting what they're going to be using on there, or suddenly you go off camera and 20 minutes later they come back on camera and things like that, you know, generally they've got issues on there where it's another sort of thing about the Juki side of that. I'm good, and thank you very much for people who do say that, but what I say is these machines make me look good. It's because if they were bad machines, I would be sitting here fiddling and playing, which you have to do on some machines. But as you can see, we're completely open. Everything is angled. You can see I'm not fiddling or playing, and that's what I say makes me look good. But this is why I love that engineering.
I mean, we call our shows lovingly warts and all sewing.
Yeah.
Because I never shy away. If I make a mistake, especially with my machine, or I break a needle or something, and we talk about it. It's not swept under the carpet. No. And actually, the sewing machines that we sell, we do them in packs of 100. You've tried them, and you're like, great. If they're put under the wrong amount of pressure, they snap. That's what you want. Rather than bending and wrecking your machine. Yeah. I always thought snapping a needle was a terrible thing. Yeah. And then you're like, no, it's far better than bending. Yeah, so you did the snap test on our needles.
And that's it. And again, that's what you want on there.
And I think it's about $24.95 or something for a pack of 100 class needles. And we sell them now, since you said that we can barely keep them in stock, because then you always have a needle. You've got 100 of them. You're not afraid to replace that needle.
And that's the thing. Yeah.
Yes. Because how often do people postpone putting in that needle and end up having a really bad sewing experience? As soon as they change that needle, the thread snapping stops. These problems stop.
And again, it's sort of the problem stop, the missing stitch, but also a blunt needle, you're putting more strain to your machine. It's because obviously you're forcing it through. So therefore, when using a blunt needle, that's more likely when it's going to go bang, 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 bang as it's going through and struggling that way. But if you're putting a blunt needle in and putting more vibration into your machine, in the long run, there's more chance that machine's going to have a problem with it as well. Very, very important.
Claire says, I'll send you a photo. It's in the shed, thinking about how naughty it's been. And Sue says
in the cold shed, that's what he's not happy with.
She says that she thinks her husband needs to be banished to the shed for the same reason. Oh, poor Mr. Sue from Lou. This isn't fun. Poor chap.
So if he's been sent to Coventry with the same place as the Overlocker, then that's not good, is it?
No. Whereas you just get sent to Coventry to see us.
Exactly it, absolutely.
So that is Overlocker number 1 for your delectation.
So that is the 214.
We've got 2 of those.
We've got 2 of those, and you can see it just does what it says on the tin.
Gary, we have just blown Diane's mind. Putting a zip in with an overlocker. What?
Yeah. Well, again, this is another thing where we sort of have classrooms, the training, YouTube and things like that. You'd be surprised how much more you can do with an overlocker, where people just overlock with them. But no, if you've got an overlocker that you're happy and comfortable using, you're going to use it far more than you ever would think you would do. And to be fair, it does end up making your sewing machine more redundant than what you would think as well sometimes.
The thing is, for quilters, because quilters often say, I wouldn't use an overlocker. Well, actually, if you quilt the edge, if you overlock the edge of your quilt before you bind it, it
holds it all together strong properly.
It is so much easier to put that binding in.
And that's exactly, you've got no movement in there, it's stuck it all together.
And actually, if I send my quilt off for long arm quilting, which I regularly do, because it's not the bit I love and I don't have time to do it.
No, again, the time involved with that.
The time involved. So I send it to somebody who does it for me, sends it back, and they will always send it back with overlocked edges.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks.
And this is it.
Thanks. Save me getting mine out. Brilliant.
Well,
happy days.
We will get purists out there. And I've got into trouble saying this before, but I'm going to say it again anyway.
Go on, Gary.
We've got
controversial.
Purist quilters out there who say, oh, you can definitely not use overlockers on quilting. Well, if you're a purist quilter, you won't be using a sewing machine either.
Well, there you go.
It's making life easier, and it's using the equipment what's now available today.
It kind of makes me cross, because if it is available to you and it's going to make your experience more enjoyable, why put guilt on someone for enjoying something and making it easier? It's like, if we haven't suffered, we haven't done it properly. Rubbish. We are here for a fun time, not a long time.
Absolutely. And also, you say, not all of us can sit there and doing it by hand. We haven't necessarily got the eyesight, we haven't got the agility in our fingers or anything like that. Doing it by a sewing machine, yes, fair enough, but surely an overlocker is a sewing machine anyway, and you're just doing it in a slightly different way.
And actually, you're making it more durable. You're making the end product look great. And unless you cut off that binding, you're not gonna know.
And also with patchworkers, where you're, as we said before, with an overlocker gives you exactly the same seam allowance.
Yes.
So if you've done it all on an overlocker, it's all on the inside anyway.
Yes.
So you're never going to see it.
Yes.
So why not make your life easier?
Yes.
Absolutely on that.
It's very, very true. Oh, I do love an overlocker show. Maybe we should insert a zip, or, you know. The thing is, I use continuous zips all the time.
Yeah.
And so it is just as simple as 2 pieces of fabric together and sew.
And then sew.
That's it. That's all it is. If you want to then flip it and top stitch it, then do that on your sewing machine.
Yeah, you can do that on your sewing machine. But to be fair, you're making bean bags and throws. You just do not need, especially I see for throws and things like that. You're never ever going to see it.
No.
So no,
It just makes life easier. Yeah.
Most definitely on that. So yeah, no. Again, once you start appreciating and enjoying a good overlocker, it's just there's no stopping you.
Sue says, "Well said, Tash." And Lo says, "If it doesn't kill you or make you pregnant, it's fine."
That's okay. That's
I mean, that is a solid life piece of advice.
That's a good saying, yes.
Gary, half of that you're going to be okay with.
I'm going to be okay with that. This is exactly,
What did you switch to, Gary?
Right.
Show us.
This is
I've gone closer.
the 2500.
Can we flip it around?
So on here, as you can see, it's a bit of a different beast, and it is. I am going to right off the bat. This is not for a beginner necessarily.
Hang on. What? Why are we not? Why? What? Why?
Because it's one of those machines on there. The MO1000. Obviously, again, we're honest and we're straight up when we sell machines. The MO1000, the MO2000, you just get on it and you just go. Absolutely, you don't play with anything. You don't adjust anything. This goes to the industrial level.
Oh wow!
As in, this will go from more extremes, from this way to that way. Obviously, you may not have your extremes yet on your MO1000 because of how much
have.
No, you probably haven't, because it covers so much. But
I feel like I need to now.
Well, again, put more through it. But we are recognising there are people who, it's more like with soft furnishing and things like that, where people are now you got your business at home.
Yeah.
You want harder working, harder wearing, and your projects necessarily, you might be then doing more and more, so you're going through thicker fabrics, heavier pleating and things like that.
Yeah.
So you are going to get to a stage where any domestic overlocker is going to run out of flexibility, i.e. stitch length, differential feed, stitch bites, etc. that way.
Gary, don't tell me this. I still love my overlocker.
Yeah, no, and to be fair,
it yet.
you probably, and you say with all these times, and then I sort of, again, saying when we sell machines, we're honest on what you do.
Yeah.
The MO1000 is going to fit, and the MO2000 is what I sell 95% of.
Okay.
These are that niche part of the market, again, of people who have just want something heavier, want something stronger, want something more semi-commercial.
Okay.
That's where we come into this one. But the difference is, you're not paying $2,500 for it.
What are we paying for it? We are paying today $1,595 as opposed to $1,800.
That's
We've got £300 saving.
That's exactly it. So
I kind of feel like I should be fixing Chester's rug on this.
This is exactly it. This is what we've now taken it to the extremes on there, is because there's a couple of different features, and it's stuff that domestically you've probably never heard of before and it's never been used. So we have what we call...
I'm going to switch my angle
on that. So if I step out there, so I'm going to just turn that around here.
I feel like I should give you like a lecturer stick so that you can point at bits.
Yes, this is it. So I want this here.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is some of the features on here, and just say, don't get me wrong, full air threading system, and it is just as easy to get on and go, but obviously it's designed to be that extra sort of flexibility more than anything, and there's certain reasons why.
If I fiddle with knobs and bits and bobs here and there, then there's going to be more chance that I upset it.
Well, it's yes and no.
Unless I know what I'm doing.
Unless you know what you're doing, and this is why I say it's not necessary for a beginner.
So you know when someone starts fiddling with all the tensions on their sewing machine and they don't know what they're doing?
This is it, yeah. Well, it's not so much, again, the tension systems on all of our machines are actually the same. So you leave it even, it will be an even tension. But this is now gone into the next level of what some of our industrial features have got. And one of them is what we call a tractor foot.
A tractor foot?
A tractor foot. So as you can see...
like John Deere?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it was a green tractor, blue tractor. See which one you prefer. Was it red tractor, green tractor? One of them two. So
the red's the Massey Fergusons and the green's the John Deere.
Oh, right. Is that?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So that'll do. It's whatever one's the toughest, anyway.
I like John Deere for
that's all right. It's good. I know of them. So, and this is just one of those simple little features on here where the back and the front undulates. So when you're going through heavier weight fabrics on there, especially if you're going through gathers and you've got then pleating, gathering, and then you've got then different levels, this when it gets
wave,
it will basically it will undulate as it goes up and down. So again, it will travel it through. Don't get me wrong, you still get the other foot with it as well, like we would normally have on an overlocker, which is your set foot. So when we are doing the standard overlocking, 3-thread, roll hem, we would always use the other foot. But when we're doing in those upholstery, soft furnishing, where we're going over much thicker, heavier layers, etc. that way, then you do have what, say, the tractor foot included within it. So again, something simple on that, but what industrial machines do have. Also,
I was not going to buy a machine today. Come on.
Also, say this, obviously, this hasn't been out 10 years. This has only been out a year. So it is one of our newer ones coming in. This is why, to be fair, we've got a few of them what we would normally not have. It's because of the launch of them.
We've been everywhere.
We had a big setup of them, and that's why we have got a few more available than our normal one or two. So the next feature on here is this dial at the top. Now, I'm going to see if I take that back. Is it going to be better? So this one here, we're all used to this one. That is our foot pressure. So you've got your medium, light, heavy. So again, whether you have done it, you can see everything I've done. I've not even touched or adjusted that whatsoever. And to be fair, most of it you won't do. Okay. You won't touch it. But the micro lifter on here. So that's exactly what. So what that will do, I'm just going to pop the foot back on.
Why don't we start with this? This is brilliant.
You say you've got to leave that excitement till last, and then you go out on a high that way. Because this is the first time we've had this one, and we've shown it on there. Yeah. This one's not even been seen on TV. I've only had them at exhibitions.
Oh, wow.
So no, this is absolutely unique to yourself on there of what we're doing. So let's tighten that into place. So while I'm doing that, the machine itself is still 2-thread, 3-thread, 4-thread, 2-thread roll hem and 3-thread roll hem. So it's the same flexibility as all the other machines. So there's no different within stitching. It's just then, so I just turn it onto the side actually, because it's here which we're going to now have to look at. I don't know how. So if I turn this dial, if you watch the foot, can you see it lift?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that and it goes back down again.
Yeah.
So what that's doing is giving me, on your sewing machine, like the NX...
It's like the hover foot.
That's exactly it.
The hover feature.
It's giving you that hover, floating function on there. So it will allow you to have full foot pressure, but if we are then, certainly now when coping with things like foam, bag materials and things like that, where you've got it thicker, but it's also soft.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you don't want to pressurise it too much because it will just gather everything up. So what we can do is using the micro lifter, give ourselves a gap, but with full foot pressure still. So again, going over like with the tractor foot, undulating, going up and down, again, it won't pressure so it won't stick. Using things like the foam and things like that as well, it will feed it through perfectly then without squashing the foam. So it takes it to that next level where at home, if you've been used to an overlocker and it's just, you just find it's now they're not strong enough, it's just not coping with the heavier weight fabrics, the soft furniture side. Or if you are then looking maybe more for business use, where you know your business is going to then change with different customers and what they're bringing in for you, this is that tool that you can...
fabric.
You can completely adjust from one to the other, and it will then be air threading system, say the built-in tension system. It's just the very easiest to use, to set up, to go. But if you was a novice, you wouldn't probably exceed its parameters. Even as an advanced sewer yourself, you've not exceeded your parameters.
No, I haven't.
But there's some people out there, again, like with the sort of the TLs, who just want that extra performance, that tool just to do that a little bit more, a little bit stronger.
I kind of feel like I do.
And that's exactly like, this is where this machine will come in then. So, and then one other option it does have, people at home who don't know, overlockers don't have width control. So the width, the bite, the stitch is the same. So you either do 4 needle, which is one width, or take a needle out and it then makes it narrow.
Yeah.
So well, depending on what needle you take out, you might have wide or narrow. But that stitch doesn't change size at all. It's the nature of an overlocker.
Yeah.
So what we have got on here is now,
doing to us,
because it's designed then obviously for a heavier weight fabric, soft furnishings.
So you need to have...
You've now got this little dial.
Oh.
There we go. This little dial here, which is called a micro stitch dial. And then you're not going to be able to really see it, but inside the arm here, on an overlocker, you've got your normal overlock finish, and then the finish is set over a little finger in here.
Yeah.
And then that finger is set. But what this lever does, this will change the lever. So I think it's not really going to be seen, but it is moving a little lever inside here.
Oh, shit.
So,
is it really?
So literally, if I've got my set width on here, so with the set width, say that's my width control, and on all overlockers I can't adjust that. That lever, I can make that plate move across. So instead of then my overlocking being that size, I've moved it across and my overlocking is now that size. And so for thick fabrics, upholstery, deep pleats, I've now got a wider stitch. And it's something that was one of those things, again, you may not recognise you haven't got width control on your overlocker.
I do not have width control on my overlocker.
And say on that, but most people only recognise that when they're trying to do real heavier weight fabrics, and then stitch is then obviously not big enough because of the depth of the fabric. Now, because we've taken this to that more upholstery level or industrial level, that's one of the features we have on our industrial machines. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, so we have just taken it
brilliant.
to that next level again on there.
I've got 3 of these. That's brilliant.
On there, and again the whoosh threading system, and if we don't know what that is, I will show you.
Yay!
So let's just run the thread, get through that.
It's funny, isn't it, Gary? Just remember when I was on exactly, Sue. She says, "Oh bother, that's another machine upgrade I need." I mean, yeah, Sue, but it's only going to take one reupholster of a boat for you to pay for that upgrade.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that's the thing, isn't it?
And because you've taken it to the extreme, in certainly with most people, if they looked around, they would go to a lot of domestic people. Some people to say, "Oh, we might want to take it on that," but they recognise probably halfway through the job, their equipment might not be good enough.
Just not going to do it.
You go to somebody with a full industrial setup.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to charge you for that.
But that's
use
the thing,
of that
is that
industrial setup
in
as
it.
well. That's exactly that is why they've spent thousands of pounds
Gemma's just
on
come
machines.
tripping in. Gemma, have you seen this overlocker?
I don't the show ever.
I know.
My battery dies.
But look at it. But look at it. We need, surely between us, we need one of these.
This is
I love mine.
the new baby.
I know.
But
I love mine too.
Fancy
So what we're trying to say, people at home, there might be a couple of second hands. M1000's come up for sale. That could be the subtle hint we might be saying on this one.
Joe's got to go. She says, sorry, got to take Abby to physio. Thanks for all the great tips and information. I know these shows are long when we have Garry. We just want to make the most of him because he comes a long way. But they stay up on Facebook, they stay up on our YouTube channel, and they are also on our website. So they are there for you to refer back to. And please do.
Well, this is why we love doing it, because to be fair, sewing is multiple things. It's not just one thing.
Of course it is.
And because we can just go off on a tangent before we know it. We've done it, and then you say you can have a registered program for 2 hours, and does it really matter if we go for 3 hours? Does it? It's not, because as long as we're having a bit of fun and enjoying it. Where, as you know, through TV programs, everything is scheduled to the front. It's like, oh, I've got to do this, got to do this.
57 minutes. Boom, you're done.
And you know me, I can just drift off talking about anything, and I realise half an hour's gone, and I better get back to my machine, really, and I talk about that.
Sue says, oh, they didn't actually want to pay her for the boat repairs.
You know the answers to that then.
That's a swift no. Do you know what is it about people? As soon as you have a sewing machine and they just think that you will want to give up your time, money, and everything else to do stuff for them, and it's like,
you sort of realise,
you're a plumber. Do you want to come and like re-plumb the toilet?
Exactly. Can you just come and do this? Yeah. But all I say with something like that, what I do say to people is like, okay, if you go and get yourself a quote from a professional place and see what they are charge you, come back and see me, and you realise I will offer you a deal and look after you, but you're not getting it for free because it's still a lot of hours to time.
Do you know what? I'm worse than that. I just say I would love to teach you.
Yeah. Oh right. Excellent. Yeah. To teach it, do it yourself.
Then you can do it for yourself.
Yeah. And you know that's going to put them off some people.
No one wants me teaching them. I taught for 10 years.
Give it to somebody else. It's not easier.
And the kids I teach keep appearing in my life.
Exactly. This is they're coming back.
In fact, one of them married my friend's brother. And I was like,
okay,
no,
then.
you are still 18. No, you're not still 18.
No.
You're now a woman of 30-something with 2 children. Okay. That's how it happens. Julia says she's missed the last 30 minutes because she had a phone call. Probably best I don't watch. Julia, if you have an overlocker, you might need this one.
That's exactly it. So again, that opens all up like all our overlockers do. So for maintenance side, we can just blow the fluff straight through. So a lot easier that way.
Very technical way.
Nice and simple. But as also you can see, obviously full metal chassis. That doesn't change. Obviously, this is a bigger machine, footprint-wise, but again, obviously, that's why we've designed it, because it's generally for that heavier work on there. So, right, so let's get it, again, the difference between the manual threading one, which we've just done with the 214D, which again, very, very simple, to then obviously the whoosh system, the air threading system on there. So to start the threading, first of all, it's this lever here. So we just lift that up, using the balance wheel, and again, turn it towards you. And then you just heard that click. Nice positive click in there.
Do you remember when I first had my overlocker and I had to ring you because I was like, I can't thread. What am I doing? And it was that click. I forgot to get that click. And it was just one tiny thing I forgot.
So with something like that, again, it won't cause an issue to the machine at all. It just obviously you're not putting the tubes in place, so it's only going to blow the thread so far, and it's not going to go any further.
Yeah, no, that was exactly it.
But as again, it reiterates. So with new machines, there's always going to be the beginner issues, and we are on the other end of the phone. And again, it's not just because you're Natasha; we're here for everybody on there. So don't feel you say everybody who's got a machine, that's their priority treatment of getting Juki backup service because you have a Juki. Yeah. So no, something like that, a quick phone call, solved, easy, and say this is what we're happy doing. So absolutely brilliant. So with this one. As with the manual threading ones, we had to specifically thread it in the correct order. Obviously,
it doesn't matter.
This one doesn't matter at all. So the top bit's the same. We just click into the top guide, lay down. It's all colour coded as well, so we've got it simple to follow. So this one just happens to be the red code. So we're taking it through.
Do you reckon if I've got your back at the moment.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There we go.
I'll get out of the way there.
It's all right. Diane says it's midnight in Australia, but it's well worth it.
Excellent. So nice to know international as well. So that's brilliant.
International Natasha Makes. Well, we've just started a new membership because we've got so many international viewers who couldn't buy fabric and stuff from us. We've had to do a digital video subscription so that you know, people can benefit from.
Right, and then sort of get the most out of there
Yeah,
on
yeah.
there. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, again, well, we are a worldwide thing on there.
Well, that's just
It
it,
doesn't
isn't
change from country to country. It's like we are, yeah. So it's brilliant, and obviously swapping ideas, swapping designs. Whether you're in sort of Australia, whether it's Asia, whether it's Americas, wherever. We all have different
the same
influences. Sorry?
and the same sort of problems as
And
well.
the same sort of issue.
We've got a little
most definitely
how-to
on
section
there.
on there for the most frequently asked questions that we get.
Yeah.
And I might have to add in some little overlocker ones.
And they put them on there. Again, we sort of help on that. And obviously, knowing sort of international, certainly with my brother as well. And you say we will have conversations, and 9 times out of 10, the questions are, the query questions are the same, because it is a sewing world out there, so it doesn't change on that.
Right, let's
So,
thread this piece.
right, so what I've done is just popped it into the first hole in there, air on button. So if we watch over this side now, I'll press the button and job done. So that's it. That's your first one threaded. I'm going to take the second one. Okay, and I'm afraid we can't even slow that down for the camera because it's a set speed. So down, through, this time it's the blue, put a little tail, take the end, sorry, don't keep it in front of the camera. And then we just poke that into the blue hole. All
I
right.
just love this.
So
You have to put about an inch in, well, so it's a good half inch.
there's a sort of half an inch, that's it, should do it on there. But again, the key thing is making sure the tails here are not caught anywhere. And I only found out the Harrogate when I was there a couple of weeks ago, when I was threading it, was on the tablecloth. And I don't know whether the tablecloth was microfiber or whatever it was that.
Catching.
If it laid it on where I'm laying it on here, if it is just laying on a little bit of the cloth acted like a magnet.
Yeah.
And I was, why is it not threading? And it's because the cloth wouldn't let it go through. So first time I come across that.
And that's just it, isn't it? But you never know. And I know that with you, I've done a FaceTime before now when something's not worked.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that you would then see.
Yes, exactly it.
And
Yeah.
it's like when doctors do, I think doctors should do, if they do over the phone consultations, I think they should be FaceTime, because there might be something they would see that they wouldn't hear.
No, this is it, and something they would recognise, obviously, on there. So
Dr. Garry, what do we do next?
Indeed. So make sure it's not then stuck to something else. Again, we press the button, through, done. And that's it. So that's your 2 loopers, obviously done. You can't get it wrong because it's in one way and in the correct order there. So once that's done, the lever here now will just pop back down. So it's taken off the threading device. It has got built-in needle threaders. So again, like all needle threaders on your overlockers and your sewing machines, needles to be in the highest position. Yeah. So what I'm going to do though, before I put the needles in the highest position, I am going to take both of the threads and then the green down through, over the top. Oh, make sure I'm not in front. Yep, over the top.
Oh, sorry. I'll switch you across. There you go.
There, down, behind the guide. And then I'm not going to actually thread the needle yet. I'm just going to take the second one.
What? Is this how we should be doing all of that?
No, when you start using and you're playing around, you end up just start developing your own ways of doing things. And like I can thread both the loopers together at the same time if I wanted to. I can just put them both in the same holes, both in the same time in the holes, press the button and it will actually thread both loopers.
What?
But we've obviously always done it one at a time because it's showing you how it actually does it, but I could do it at the same time there. But the reason I do the needles like this is because it saves me to keep on moving the needle up and down. So I get both of them down through the guides till I get to the needle thread apart. So in the guide. So I've now got both of my threads ready to go through the needles. So if I'd have done one, I'm moving the thread down and it's a little bit more awkward to get to this guide above the needle here. So the reason I thread them both there, because when the needles are down, that guide's easy to get to. Right. In the guides, pop needles back up to the highest position and now the needle threaders will work.
Brilliant.
So
Julia says...
left or right, right first, lock it into position. Then take the thread, obviously right hand thread, right hand tension, right hand needle. So pop the foot down, then it just clicks on like so, needle up, oops, and it didn't take it through. Let's try that again.
I know you're having to do it at such an awkward angle. Julia says, I bent my needle threader in the first week. User error, not positioning things properly. You are not alone, and this is why, as we've covered this earlier, you might have been on the phone. This is why they are consumable parts, and you just get another one and click it on.
That's exactly it.
And we don't talk about it. And we forget it ever happened, and we move on and pretend that it's all good. Deb says, one of my favourites. You guys are great. I think that's you, Gary. I think you are one of Deb's favourites.
I think we are. We are. The royal we on that one, absolutely. Okay. And the needle threaders usually work, but as we say, if someone has used it, this one's not ready to go yet, and I'm going to be very embarrassed now, but as we all doing it live, we're going to be honestly say that is actually slightly out of alignment. So
it needs a new needle threader, but
I'm
that's
afraid
fine
it does
you can
need a new one.
manually do it.
But on the other hand of that, we have got.
But we did know, Gary. We've got two that are ready to go and one that needed the service.
That's what it is on that list, and I can guarantee they've loaded me the one. I was actually wondering why it didn't have the sticker on, saying it was all been done, and that's the reason why it hasn't got the sticker on. So,
but that's the thing. When you get yours, it will have been serviced.
Oh, absolutely. Say it's gone through step by step. Everything is complete as new. It has all gone through. But as you can say on that, obviously, most people, when you look at an overlocker, it's always the loopers. The sewing machines, obviously, we can then just easily sort of manually thread it. So if your needle threader does happen to go, then it's not actually an issue. You haven't lost your machine. You can still use it perfectly well there.
I'm going to say this again. When these machines are gone, they are gone. I've just noticed that another one's gone. I don't actually know which one without looking at the stock, so I don't know what we're down to, but these are, we will say it again for anybody just joining us again, these are ex-demonstration models, which is why they've got the massive discounts on them, but they have all been, well, this one is due to go in, resurfaced.
Oh, sorry?
These have all been resurfaced.
Oh,
this
absolutely,
one will be.
completely gone through. To be fair, they've gone right back to, we sort of factory set them as such to say. So obviously when we've got them, they're completely serviced, they've gone through everything we've done, it, especially with the bigger sewing machine side. So obviously they've all gone through the memories, everything is literally, to be fair, with these machines, you could actually get it and think it's a brand new machine. Yeah. So and
it's honoured with a 2-year warranty.
And it's exactly the same as what you would get with a full European warranty, 2 years. Yeah. So again, it's typical. Once we've threaded it up, again that stitch quality,
beautiful
performance level is Juki. Yeah. And that's the 2500 on there. So
this has been out for how long, Gary?
This has been on the market now, well, if I say 2 years.
It's the first time I've seen it. Where have I been for 2 years?
It's a case of the first lot we had come in, it was supply and demand, because it was that just coming out of lockdown time. Right. And obviously we were all sharing machines with Europe. Yeah. So yes, fair enough on that. We just couldn't get the love and the money on there, and that's why they've never been anywhere else. Right. It's because we've never had the stocks to get it through. But obviously now we've got stocks, absolutely no problems. Obviously all the exhibitions, obviously we've had all the exhibitions on there, but obviously now they're going to come in. They are going to be seen more on there. But unlike the MO1000, the MO2000s, which hit the market and everybody just absolutely adored them, and the reputation was there. This is that bit more of a niche specialist market. As I said from the beginning, don't get me wrong, it is for anybody and everybody if you want it to be, but it's more going to know that level of people who know overlockers, who just want that extra oomph, that extra. Just that extra.
I kind of feel like I want that extra.
And there's exactly.
And I will grow into wanting that extra with the projects.
Well, knowing what projects you do is such a big variety, then you say, if you do get a project, and it's the same as at home, you suddenly get a project where someone wants to commission you to do something, then having the right tools is absolutely, obviously, half the battle. Very much so on there. So.
Elizabeth said that if anyone is wondering what she would like for Christmas, right here.
Wonderful, exactly.
We'll soon find out if you've been naughty or nice, don't we? Garry, thank you.
Oh, always a pleasure. Absolutely brilliant.
My goodness.
You just say, I don't. Yeah, that's great. It's just time just flies. Absolutely.
really
But we
does.
have, that's the good thing about it. We've got people who say they're quite happy with it's just chuck the questions in. We can chat.
Yeah.
We can laugh, and it's lovely to hear just those people just happy and enjoying their machines as well.
I
So
think
fantastic.
we have covered. Oh, there you go. Terry fitted a new one when he was here delivering. Oh, there you go. So Julia got the new needle threader.
Needle threader, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sorry.
So she's all right.
Sorry,
She's all right.
brilliant.
She's got it
Excellent.
sorted.
All that done. So that
this
is
all good.
lovely.
Right. Okay. So thank you, Garry. Thank you everyone for watching. We started off the day with G120s, G220. The DX3s have all sold out. They've gone, I know for a fact. I don't know what else, and that's only because one of our viewers has told us. I don't know what else has sold. But we had a TL22. How do you say it?
200, 2200, yeah, it varies. Yeah.
We've got 2 of the first overlockers. We've got 3 of this overlocker. We've got 1 cover stitch machine.
Only
which
the
we haven't
one,
seen.
literally the cover stitch, yeah.
We've had 2 of the UX8s. So, you know, guys, when they're gone, they're gone. I know that we've already had one viewer disappointed because she wasn't quite quick enough with her fingers, fastest fingers first here.
Yeah.
So it's not that I want you to rush a decision. It's just that if you want the discount.
You say we know we do this sort of once a year.
Yeah.
We know it's not a gimmicky thing where I'm just going to turn up 2 weeks' time with another batch of machines or something like that.
No. It's just not.
And it's like with last time as well. You know, you've advertised it beforehand, so you do get people pre-order. Think, oh, I'm waiting for that sort of thing coming in. So which is great that way.
And they'll stay on the website until they're sold.
Subject to availability.
Yeah.
Absolutely on there.
So that's just it. So yeah. Garry, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Now feed you.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, everybody, and we will see you on Monday. What am I going to do Monday? Oh. I'm waiting for the fabric to come in, and it should be in today, and if it is, then I've got something very beautiful for Monday planned.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Watch that space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, everyone, take care. Thank you ever so much for joining us for as much of it or as little of it as you have joined us for. Watch it back at your leisure. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it is on our website at Natasha Makes. If you are looking for these machines, maybe this is the first time that you've joined us. We are in the UK. We are shipping to the UK, and these machines can be found at www.natashamakes.com. Thank you ever so much. And Diane says, thank you so much. Great show as always. Cole says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Julie says, brilliant as always. Lots of love for you there, Garry, and lots of love. Thank you, everybody, very much. We'll
Wonderful.
see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye. Yeah.